help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look at my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
It is Monday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you, and I am joined by the newest members of the YSN family as we are going to be talking Full Court, which is a brand new show that is coming to YSNLive.com. And in studio, the former head basketball coach of the McDonald Blue Devils, quite successfully done, I might add, Jeff Russell, and joining him, Brian Higgins. Guys, welcome in.
Well, first of all, thanks for having us. We're starting a show. It's supposed to premiere on June 19th, Friday, June 19th,
There you
called
go.
Full Court Press. We're thrilled to be with YSN and just happy to be part of your family.
All right, now I'm going to just ask, just run down your McDonald Full Court Press so I can steal it from you and give it to my kids at Leetonia so they can learn how to win games.
People ask us all the time, like, how did this evolve?
Yeah.
It started, 10, 12 years ago. We actually were returning a team that we didn't think could score. So we figured we'll make it a defensive struggle, and it kind of evolved into stuff that we didn't even think was going to happen. And, we won a lot of games with it. But over the course of time, that press became, instead of defensive, it became offensive, and we just started scoring 90 points a game.
Right.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about that. And Brian, I want you to jump in on this. When you say your defensive press turned into offense, quick steals, turnovers, and whatnot.
We had a philosophy at the beginning of the year. We said we wanted to have force 30 turnovers, grab 20 offensive rebounds, get a shot off every 20 seconds. And it just spiraled, and we had some guys that could put the ball in the hoop.
Yeah, the difference with us is you're going to put up more shots, we're going to put up more shots, but what we're going to do is we're going to give it to the guys that we think can make it the most consistently. So, someone like Zach, he's going to get most of the shots. Years before, Matt Seitz, he's going to get most of the shots. So our superstars are going to get the majority of our shots. So if they're taking 2 or 3, and you got 3 different kids on the other side taking 3, we're going to win that game.
Okay, now I'm going to stop because there's a popular
Go ahead.
misnotion. There's a very popular misnotion that Jeff Russell was not a coach before Zach Russell came. And let me just say flat out, baloney, and a popular misnotion that you were only at McDonald. Again, baloney. You started at Champion.
Yeah, well, first of all, I was a head coach before Zach was born.
Yeah, there you go.
I was a head coach for 20 years. I was the head coach at Champion for 4 years where I teach. And then I came to McDonald, and I was there for 16 years, took a year off, and Brian took over. So, I was a coach long before Zach, but he grew up in the gym. We've had some great players. There's a lot of notions about me and Brian.
Most of them true.
People talk about running up the score.
That's true.
We didn't care. And we never want to embarrass another team or, kids especially, but, our priority was our kids and our team. And, we had a basic philosophy. We were going to play our kids, our starters, more or less, to the 4-minute mark of the fourth quarter. And then we were going to see what happens from there. I'm not going to bench a kid who's worked his tail off just because we're better. They deserve the opportunity to play. So, there's a lot of things out there about us. We're okay with it. We never really cared.
Yeah, no one ever understood our strategy and what we were doing. Sometimes when we were trying to get a kid to go off. So he's been struggling in practice. Last couple of games, he couldn't put the ball in the hoop. He had a good game. He's going to keep shooting because we're not here just to beat you tonight. We're here to beat you in Struthers in a month, or the other team, or whoever we're playing. So we had strategy in all we were doing. We weren't just running it up to embarrass anybody. It was usually because we were trying to get things done for our team.
I remember you guys came to Leetonia
Is that when we got police escorted out?
5 or 6 years ago.
That's when we got the police escort out.
Yeah, but you guys didn't run the score up.
Oh, that wasn't it?
You guys didn't run the score. It was at the time before.
Okay.
The time before you get the police escort out of town. Look, it's not the first time someone didn't get a police escort out of town.
And that wasn't our first police escort either.
And I can believe that.
I think the year you're talking about that we didn't run the score, we actually liked the coaches at that point.
Let's get to the phone lines at 330-886-0813. You're on YSNLive.com. What's up?
Hi, this is Greg from California.
Hey, Greg, what's up?
And hey, doing great. My major question is this: sports movies are really famous for having great speeches by the coaches. I was wondering for Jeff and Brian, what's the greatest speech they've ever delivered, and what's the worst one they've ever heard?
Well, first of all, this shows we got fans from all over the country. This is somebody from California calling in to talk to us. Well, Greg, I don't remember my pregame speeches. I think more halftime or after game were probably more intense. But we had a player years ago, I think a champion, who wanted to give a speech. Do you remember this, Brian?
Is that the Hoosier speech?
The Hoosier speech.
Yeah.
So we were at Newton Falls, and this player, a great kid, came to us and said, "Hey, can I give the pregame speech?" Which we didn't care. Go ahead and give the pregame speech. He starts talking. I'm looking at Brian. I'm like, this sounds familiar. Like, what is this? Well, it was the speech from Hoosiers before the game.
Yeah.
And, we're looking. He goes on, and it was all good. I'm not sure about us.
Fortunately, he was probably the only one of the team that knew Hoosiers. So like no one else knew what he was talking about.
There you
They
go.
thought it was a great speech. I think a lot of our speeches were just adjustments, getting in kids a little bit, getting in their butts a little bit, telling them, hey, we need a little bit more effort out of you, or you're in the wrong spot, or you got to rebound, and motivating them to come out in the second half and be ready to go.
Yeah.
That it, caller?
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, appreciate it. All right, 330-886-0813. All right, guys, talk a little bit about the show, how you guys are going to do the show, what the show's about. Obviously, there's a little bit of basketball involved. But
We're not sure yet.
Yeah, we can promise it'll be a train wreck, whatever we do.
there you go.
We have a couple rules for our show.
Well, you know what? Let's start with the show. First of all, when we gave it up, we always joked around about being on TV or radio, one of those things. And this opportunity presented itself, and we're like, this sounds something fun for us.
Yeah, we always talked about, like, after basketball's over, we're going to have to join a dart league or bowl or something because I mean, how do you replace going to practice with?
And
your
we
buddies
can't
every
golf,
day? Yeah,
so-
we can't golf. And this came up, and there's no sports right now because of quarantine, so it's a perfect time to start another sports talk show, right? So
absolutely.
So we don't have anything to talk about when we start out, but. We thought it would be fun to get together and just kind of, we want to do something a little different than other sports talk shows. We're not going to talk about your starting lineup next year. We're not going to talk about what you did in 1985. We're gonna get a little bit more in depth with people, talk a little bit about their history, why they're doing it, some of their philosophies, maybe even like breaking down film, stuff like that. We're going to pretend we know about other sports other than basketball. That might not be accurate all the time, but we'll talk to football. I have a little bit of association through my son with hockey, so we're going to talk about different sports. We got some baseball people lined up for us, so we're going to talk about other things, and we're going to have some fun with it. And like I was saying, we have a couple rules. One of the rules is that we're going to do no research on this, so we are not going back and telling this happened or this many yards were run at this time. We're not going to do that.
All right.
We're not going to lie, but at some point it might not be true. But in our head, at some point, we thought it was true. But we're not going to. But we're not going to go back and make sure that's right.
That sounds good.
No breaking news.
Okay.
We're not going to tell you where a kid signed or anything like that.
That's
we're not
good.
Gonna do
All right.
We're going to leave that up to Mike Ackelson and Dana Balish, and then some other people can retweet it as their own and stuff like that. So no breaking news. We're not going to do that, and we're not going to be polished. We're going to have fun with it. We're going to be in his basement. So we want the show to be like, hey, you're sitting in our basement.
I was kind of hoping you guys would have brought a couple of Budweisers. We could have opened some.
We are going to do that.
A little bit of fun today.
We're planning on drinking for every show.
Okay.
I'm going to bring something out, and we're going to have the people vote for it for our first show. We're going to be drinking Birdfish. So
there you go.
So
that's just up the road in Columbiana.
Columbiana, great beer. So
absolutely,
if they ever want to sponsor us, we'll drink that every.
Well, I know one of the owners. His father and I have been friends for about 40 years.
Good. So let them know we'll be drinking, and we're going to have some fun with it. And like I said, it's going to be like we're in your basement because we are in a basement.
You know what, too? When YSN offered us the signing bonus, and
Right.
we just couldn't turn it down.
You know,
I mean,
I feel
6
bad for you
figures.
guys. How
Well,
much they
hey,
get.
listen, I mean, I made my 7 figures in minor leagues, so it's all good. Yeah, sure.
Right.
Just to get back to the Latonia thing, I just thought I'd throw this in. The one year that we did get a police escort out, quick story for you, we beat them pretty bad, and this guy comes up to me, this older guy comes up to me at the end of the game. I'm standing by the locker room, and he says, what you did was wrong, and blah, blah, blah. He went on and on and on. And I said, well, you need to go talk to your coach because he needs to get better. And the guy said, well, I'm the coach's father.
No, it was even worse. He goes, I'm Mr. So-and-so.
Yeah.
And he was like, who's so-and-so?
I go, who's that?
He goes, that's my son. He's the coach.
That's
Ouch.
right.
So,
Yeah.
he didn't even know the head coach's name.
Ouch.
But in reality, the kid was kind of a punk, to be quite honest with you. And then he came out in the parking lot and he tried to fight us all, and it was pretty crazy.
He did take his shirt off.
He did. He was in 20-degree weather.
This is not surprising.
No.
He did not last at Latonia. It was a one and done for him.
Yeah, that's.
And then the cruiser came and we got out of town.
Now there you go.
Yeah.
Like I said, you guys aren't the first one that ever got a police group escort out of Dodge. That's,
That wasn't our only police escort out.
I remember a number of Sebring teams that got a police escort out of town during the Rick Brook administration. So
Well, Sebring's different because their fans really love me.
I find that hard to believe.
They love me.
Really?
Yes,
I'm sensing a little sarcasm.
We've never had an
folks.
issue at Sebring.
It's a love-hate.
I'm sensing a little sarcasm.
We actually had one fan come out of the stands one time and take the railing
out.
lifted it, and was coming down the stands
After
holding it
me.
After
During
Wow.
a JV game.
during a JV game.
Interesting. Western Reserve.
Yes.
You guys had a pretty nice rivalry going
Yeah.
with Western Reserve for a few years.
Sure. Well, first of all, when I first came to McDonald's, Steve Miller was the coach. He had some really good teams. Not that they've been bad. I mean, they had a good team a couple years ago, beat us in the district semis.
Right.
We'd beaten them twice during the year, but they got good kids. We haven't had many problems with Western
Yeah.
Reserve, with their fans or anything of that nature. I think there's probably a mutual respect. Big football rivalry.
Oh, yeah.
Big football rivalry.
Yeah.
Now Springfield's joined the conference and kind of, is the favorite, but a couple years ago it was McDonald, Western Reserve, and
I mean, that's a hate-hate relationship in football.
yeah, football.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know how that'll change with a new coach coming into
Yeah,
Western
with
Reserve.
Andy gone, that'll be
yeah.
interesting to see how that.
Well, Andy also had that Mineral Ridge, history.
Sure.
So
Sure.
Mineral Ridge McDonald.
Yeah.
Let me say this: we're not from McDonald.
No,
So,
I get that.
Brian and I are both from Hubbard, so we don't
Yeah.
understand the McDonald Mineral Ridge 1950 rivalry.
Who's or which environment in the in the conference? Which environment was the environment that you guys least looked forward to? Sebring?
Never want to go there again in my life.
At
Yeah.
Sebring, yeah.
At Sebring.
Now, do they have a brand new gym, or is it still the older?
No, well, it's
No.
like 20 years old. Yeah, it's
it
not
that
like
old?
brand new.
Okay.
It's not the
So,
old
right.
old
Yeah,
gym.
see, the old
Yeah.
gym, you guys would have hated it.
Yes.
It was dark.
Yeah.
It was purple all over the place. They had a balcony.
Correct.
And kids used to throw shit
Yeah.
on our kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, now they throw railings at the coaches.
All right, seems that nothing has changed in Sebring. There you go.
Sebring, the thing about Sebring is I think half of their crowd, at least, came just to harass me.
Yeah.
I mean, they sit behind, they'd scream. We ultimately had to have our administrator sit behind the bench just so they would stop yelling at me.
Yeah, they're an interesting group of people. They're very passionate about Sebring basketball.
They love it.
And obviously in the 70s and 80s,
Oh, they
had
were
phenomenal. But,
phenomenal program.
now, and I don't mean this disrespectfully,
Not so
much.
Not nearly as good as
Right.
what they were before. I agree with that.
If you go to Sebring's gym, the one side is all Sebring reserve seating. So when they opened that gym is when they were rolling. So
Yeah.
they were selling all those reserve seating, but they don't anymore. So it kind of, even our fans are next to each other on the other side, which causes a problem.
All right, let's get back to the phone lines. A familiar friend joining us. Thorny, what's up, brother?
Uh-oh.
What's going on, fellas?
Hey, Todd, how you doing, man?
Brian, Jeff, welcome aboard, man.
What's up, Todd?
I got one for you. Give me the most intense district final that you guys were
Easy one
associated
for
with,
me.
no matter where it was.
Yeah, that's easy. Go ahead.
Easy, Youngstown Christian.
Right.
It was. That place was sold out at Struthers Fieldhouse. We had walked in an hour and 20 minutes early for the game, like the kids had walked in off the bus. And the fans were already chanting at each other. And we walked right across the middle of the floor. And, man, you just had goosebumps. And that year, real quick, we had scrimmaged them. I purposely scrimmaged them July 3rd at our gym because I didn't think we could beat them. And I wanted to show our kids, like, where they were at. I thought they'd come in and kick our ass, basically. But
they were going to state.
We thought they were going to state, and they had the legitimate team. They came into our gym on July 3rd, and my kids steamrolled them. Just absolutely steamrolled them in the scrimmage. Because the truth is, when you look at that group that I had then, July 3rd was the Super Bowl. June 20th was the Super Bowl. They didn't care. You come to our gym, we're going to beat you. And that just built the momentum for our kids to think they could do it. So that year, I scouted them like 6-8 times. And I said to the coaches, I don't think we can beat them. We were undefeated. They had one loss. I said, I don't think we can beat them. And we went into that game, and it was an absolute war. And we were averaging 80 points a game that year, and I said to the kids, we need to keep this score in the 40s if we have any chance of winning. At the end of the first quarter, it was 20-14, I believe. Youngstown Christian, which is now Valley Christian, they scored 22 points, I think, the rest of the game in the next 3 quarters. Wow. And we beat them. And that to me is probably our biggest victory at McDonald. Now, we had won that regional semifinal game against Richmond Heights, who were undefeated. Right. But to me, that was just a great atmosphere.
And there were so many cool side stories to that game. Yes. Devin, one of our senior leaders, Devin Bansberg, he gets caught under the eye, rips him right open. I mean, there's blood everywhere.
Yep, remember it.
And I run back into the trainer's room with him, and he's like screaming at me, "You got to get me back in! You got to get me back in!" There's blood everywhere, and I'm like, "Devin, you are covered in blood. You cannot." And they stitched him. They gave him a butterfly stitch in a New Jersey, and he went out there for the last 20 seconds. 20 seconds.
I remember it.
When Devin he ran into Nick Rhoda for a loose ball. And when Devin came up, he had just a huge, nasty, UFC gash across his eye, and he is dripping blood everywhere. And I'm like, Devin, you got to come out of the game. And he waves me off. He says, I'm not coming out. I said, Devin, you don't understand. You're not playing. But, we grinded that game out. I think we won 46-42 or 46-44.
We started out in that trick zone.
Yeah, we threw a crazy defense at them.
Never played it before.
Never played it, and it worked. That was one of the things we did right, that defense.
We didn't do many things right over the years, but that was one of the ones.
That was one, yeah.
But it was awesome.
And then, outside of home in the Struthers Fieldhouse, what's the best venue to play a game? Outside of those two, I'm taking them off of you.
That's a tough one. I don't know if
and outside of McDonald, obviously.
Yeah, we loved McDonald's gym. I mean, we love you still feel like you're in an old gym, McDonald, even though they've upgraded it. Everybody says
the Fieldhouse was home.
The Fieldhouse is awesome. I take the Fieldhouse over every venue we've played, and obviously we didn't go to state, but
even better than Canton
Fieldhouse is awesome, but the Struthers Fieldhouse is it's
different.
It's so different.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Let me say this too: the people, the workers at Struthers,
phenomenal,
are the best.
Yeah,
they are the best. This year at Canton we had a wonderful experience too, but the Struthers, they are the best.
You know what? For conference play, when we were back in the whatever it was then, ITCL or whatever, going to Wellsville was always fun.
Oh, Wellsville, yeah.
Going down there.
Bug Thompson. Bug's one of my guys.
Great dude.
Bug is, I love that guy because with Bug, it's no bullshit. It's no nonsense. You play the game. If they lose, he says, hey, we got to do better. My kids got to do better. He never points the finger at you. He never says your kids cheat or, you ran up the score. It was never anything like that. Bug is a wonderful man. And let me say, you always get fed at Wellsville. Before you left,
there you go.
Mrs. Thompson was in the kitchen and you were getting fed.
That's the great thing about Bug. He would say, some coaches we talk to, and they talk about kids. Don't tell us you don't talk, because all coaches will come up to you before a game and this kid stinks or this kid's not doing this and we're trying to get. He didn't even go to class yesterday. Bug would say that to the paper about his kids.
Yes.
The other coaches we would talk to, they'd say it, but they wouldn't say it out loud. They'd only do it in our little circle.
Yeah, Bug doesn't give a shit about it.
Bug does not give a shit.
He'll say whatever's on his mind.
There was one year we went down to Wellsville and Bug was upset with one of his players, missed class or something, skipped school. I don't even remember. You know, best player. Most coaches would be, here comes McDonald. We're pretty good.
Yeah.
Bug benched him. Didn't play.
Get your ass to class.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep. A lot of respect for Bug
fellas,
Thompson.
I wish you guys nothing but a great run and enjoy this thing. At some point in time, I'll come over, have some beers, and sit in on the show with you guys.
Oh, absolutely.
He just wants the beers.
That's
I mean,
right.
let's be honest here.
It's good with us.
right.
We're fine with that. We can be used. I'm okay with that.
All right, there we go. 330-886-0813. That is the number to call. I've been always wanting to ask, and it was kind of like a pet peeve to begin with, and then I was like, every time I saw McDonald play, I was like, okay, I expect it now. Starting lineups are announced.
Never shook hands.
Yeah.
You're on the bench.
Yeah.
And normally the varsity coaches would be out. Now, this wasn't all the time.
No, it was all the
In
time.
the early 80s, they didn't do that.
Oh,
In
yes.
the early 80s, they didn't do it. Now, I mean, nowadays, everyone wants to do that.
Well, just real quick with that, I'm so superstitious. I mean, if you watch me this year, when we got on a roll, I didn't change my outfit. I wore the same outfit every Tuesday, Friday.
Well, you always had
Saturday night.
khaki. You always had the khaki
Yeah,
pants.
and you know, I used to wear. People say you stomped your feet, you know, but they don't know why I stomped my feet. During the season, I lose my voice,
Yeah.
so the kids knew when I stomped my feet to look. They thought I was stomping my feet in anger. That wasn't the case at all. But then I went to tennis shoes just because it was just easier on my feet. But the reason why I didn't shake hands, very simple, superstition. Like started in that corner, you know, clapping, hitting my own kids' hands.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go out there and ruin something.
Okay.
I did do it a few times
Because-
during tournament run because.
Well, they made us one.
Well,
time.
Joe Fuline, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, great coach, you know,
Yeah.
just a great man. He had said to us one time at Struthers, like, I would appreciate if all head coaches shake hands. And, you know, Joe Fuline, I just got think he's
Crazy-
the greatest.
crazy respect.
Yeah, crazy respect. So I'm going to do it for him then, and I did. Outside of that,
I mean, did you ever feel like one of the reasons why you weren't liked was that particular reason?
no, I think there's a lot of
Well, there's a lot of other reasons. I mean,
that one's real low on the
Yeah,
list.
I mean,
don't like
your
Jeff about
demeanor.
it.
I mean, your demeanor on the court.
Yeah.
If people are not a fan of McDonald,
Yeah.
they're going to look at them and go, "Who the bleep is this crazy guy on the sidelines, and why is he acting like a deranged guy?"
Well, you know, there was a couple of times parents would come up to me after the game and go, I wouldn't want my kid playing for you. I said, well, thank God he's not playing for me then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, stay at your school and lose,
Yeah.
quite honestly. But, you know, I never worried about that. I always say I'm kind of a glorified cheerleader. You know, I jumped up and down. I didn't care what the other team was doing. I didn't care what the other coaches were doing. Most cases, I didn't care what the other fans were doing until they kept coming at me, and then I would say something
then
back.
you got to say something.
Yeah,
back,
I mean, I let it
obviously.
go for a little while, but
Sure.
you know, I call out all the plays, so they see the vocal, but I call out all the plays.
Right.
You know, every single one of them. Where other coaches, they have these like rhythm motion offenses where they don't call it out. So
And we've heard that argument from, like, it came down from other coaches and fans that, like, he doesn't shake hands, he's an asshole. And then I'd always think, if you're worried about him shaking hands, we already beat you. The game's already over.
That makes sense.
If you're worried about that right now, then we don't have to worry about what happens.
Now,
you know, I had an AD at Champion, great man, George Carmichael, who has since passed. We were like in our second year, and Lakeview had just kicked our ass in a game, and it was for the league championship, and we felt they kind of ran up the score. We had subbed in our subs. He kept his starters in, and one of my subs just 2 minutes left. They're pressing us. He just elbows this starter right in the face, just knocks him out, literally. And their coach goes crazy, and I said, well, pull your starters out. You know, I put my subs in. I conceded the game. Long story short, the game ends. We're fighting with the coaches, all craziness. And George Carmichael comes over to me. He says, hey, I want to tell you something. He was an older man, coached college basketball. He said, never worry about what the other coach does, what he does with the team. You only worry about your team. That's what we did.
Right.
We only cared about our team. We cared about our players. Now, I didn't want to see other kids obviously get hurt or, nothing like that.
Sure.
But our responsibility was to our kids and our team.
We got criticized all the time for not scouting. Like, we talked about
Never.
Youngstown Christian. It was a huge game. We had to scout it. But most of the time, we didn't scout anybody all season long because we're going to press you. So whatever you do, it doesn't matter because we're pressing you.
Yeah, no one else is going to do what we do. So I can go watch you, Latonia, play against Wellsville and run half-court offense.
We
but you're
felt
not
like
going
if
to run half court.
yeah, we
offense
felt
against
like
us.
if we could take care of our side and our kids do the best that they can do, that gives us the best chance.
We
to win.
never had a scouting report.
Where did you guys come up with your full court press? Because when that's on, that's the best press other than Jim Meisner's press in Columbiana in the late '70s, which
have
was
no idea what you're talking about.
which was essentially permeated of we're going to force the kid to catch an out of bounds pass in the corner.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're done.
Yeah.
They're screwed 50 ways a Sunday. You're not getting that ball out of the corner.
Right.
But your guys' press,
It's all over.
it's all over.
Right.
If you make a catch, over foul line extended, you're still going to get destroyed.
You're going to get a rebound. We're going to double.
Yeah.
it.
Unless you get rid of the ball, just as soon as you get it and you get rid of the ball,
Right.
that's practically the only way you guys are getting your press screwed.
Let me say this: some years were better than others, also.
Right.
Oh,
some
well,
years
it's
were
talent, sure.
yeah. Well, in work ethic, some years we had offensive kids versus defensive kids. But I listened to an opposing coach he was leaving the gym one day scouting us, and he said the middle's wide open against their press, and I walked out laughing. It may be. I don't know, because we don't give instruction on that. We don't. You go wherever you want. You may start in the middle of the press, at half court. You may end up in the front. Like, we don't instruct like that. We don't tell you where to go. We tell you just to go, and we give you some simple rules to follow. And it started with us not knowing if we could score, and we kind of looked at some different ideas. And we went to summer camps that year, and we pressed. And we started beating everybody. I'm talking about Columbus. We beat everybody. We were just blowing them out of the gym, and we thought this is going to be something special. We went. That was the beginning. Went 20-0.
Well,
3 years in a row.
That was also the year we had, maybe from our 4th guy to our 10th guy, they were similar.
Yeah.
So we couldn't pick four out of those 6 kids. So we said we're going to play them all.
Yeah.
We're just
Yeah,
going to
there you
rotate
go.
it.
Absolutely.
And how do you do that? You play everybody and you run all over the place.
And they did.
And
they bought in.
We had 2 presses. One was we're going to stand behind you at first, and
Yeah.
one we're going to face guard you, and that was it.
100 or 75. 100 would be face guard, and we're gonna. Our main thing was we're gonna wear you down. So over a course of 32 minutes, you're gonna be tired because it's small school basketball. Most schools are lucky if they have a couple ball handlers at best.
Sure.
So we're gonna wear you down, and we also banked on the fact you're gonna be in foul trouble, and so are we.
Right.
But we play 10 kids most years. So our 10th guy plays every night. Your 10th guy never plays.
And we're going to
varsity.
piss you off.
Yeah, we're going to piss you off.
We're going to get you this close to you until you want to throw a punch, and then you have to make a jump shot feeling like that. And we're going to do it for as many minutes as you're on the floor.
And if you're doing offensively, you're running just as fast as you're pressing.
And our
That's
best,
you're basically having a team do one of those things late in the third quarter where they're tapped out. And
we could see
it.
it.
Yeah,
And we would see it.
halftime.
We would be like, they're done.
They're done.
Yeah.
We could see their shoulders are down. They didn't even want to be out there. We already won the game.
The year that I didn't coach, I had several coaches call me. I went to their practices to
Sure.
show them the press. They're all wanting to see the press. They're all
Yeah.
wanting to see the press. And I said, the one thing you got to realize is at some point in that game, that other team's going to go on a 10-0 run. They're going to get layups. And you have to sit there and watch it. If you're not prepared to do that, you can't press because it's all or nothing for us.
Right.
Well, some of them call me back like, I was in a scrimmage and they jumped out on us 8-0. I go, what did you do? Oh, I got out of the press. Not us. We call a timeout and tell the kids to press harder.
Right.
Yeah.
Make it faster. And we knew at some point during that game, we were going to go on a 10-0 run. We were going to go on the 15-0 run. And then when you add, players such as Zach or Matt Seitz or James Beat or whoever it might be, guys that can put the ball in the hoop, you're in some trouble.
You get your kids put the ball in the hoop a lot. Now, forget about Zach for a second.
Oh, no, across the board.
You had a couple of years ago when Zach was a sophomore and you guys were playing
Freshman.
Western Reserve.
Oh, it's tough.
The Western Reserve, you guys lost in the district semis.
Okay.
You had a big kid, Porterlees. You had a number of...
No, that year we had Braden Poole.
Yeah, you're right. I'm
Sophomore.
sorry. My apologies.
Yeah.
You're right.
The year before Zach's freshman year, which I think is one of our best teams ever.
Yeah.
That was when we lost to JFK in the regional semis.
Yes.
In that year, we had Dylan Porterlees,
Yes.
Evan McGill, Braden, and Zach. I mean, that's.
You're talking a who's who of shooting.
Well, let me tell you this: if Zach is a junior on that team versus
You guys
a freshman,
are- you guys
we're
are
going to
going to
state.
state.
Yeah, I mean, Zach's a whole nother beast. And then you add, I mean, Braden Poole's a superstar.
Yeah, he's doing great things at Mount Union.
Yeah,
right now.
great things.
Yeah.
I mean, he started all last year as a sophomore. He's going to start next year. I mean, they're expecting big things from him. I mean, Braden's got it all. He's got the length, 6'5", could do it all. And then you add Dylan and Evan, who were just guys that would buy into whatever we told them to do. We were pretty good. It's just Zach was young.
Hey, not to get off the topic, but we're not going to talk about McDonald the whole time. On
No.
our show.
Oh no, absolutely not. But I gotta ask because
No, we're okay with it today. But
I'm curious as all get out.
there will be nobody outside of McDonald that watches our show.
No kidding. I'm curious. Your son, obviously, prolific shooter. I mean, look, and obviously thousands of shots in the summertime, allowing him to be a prolific shooter. You just don't get out of bed and say, "Oh, I'm going to be a basketball player." Don't grab a ball and then just do it during the game.
Zach had great training and coaching at a young age.
Yeah, a tremendous work ethic. I want to ask you, how would you, as a coach, defend him?
I wouldn't. I say this all the time. First of all, Zach changed the game. He's my son, and that's why it's difficult because you got to be careful what you say. He's Jackie's son, too.
Jackie's son. She was a good basketball player.
Jackie was Player of the Year in Ohio 2 years in a row.
Absolutely.
But I always said this. I think teams committed too much to Zach. I think that they should have let Zach go out there and do his thing and stop everybody else because they had a better chance of stopping everybody else than stopping Zach. Even this year, teams are boxing one of them or two guys on. He still scored 40 points. And yet you left everybody else open. And so other guys were scoring 15, 20 points, whereas maybe if you would have guarded them harder,
right,
maybe Zach would have scored 50, and he probably would have, but they wouldn't have scored as much. I've said this for years. That would have been my philosophy. I think that a lot of teams focused. With that said, they wouldn't have stopped him. He would have put up even bigger numbers, but yet the other guys wouldn't have had the numbers they had.
The best defense I ever saw against Zach was Lowellville in the district semifinals his junior year.
Yeah, there's a kid out in Lowellville who says that he stopped Zach. No, he didn't stop Zach. They played a diamond and one.
Yes.
So they put one guy on him and put the other four and said, don't let him drive.
And if he went past him, another kid from the diamond
three
came
of them.
off.
Right.
It was a fascinating defense that they ran.
Well, Springfield did it this year.
We've seen it a lot.
We've seen it. Yeah, we've seen it.
Yeah.
First of all, we were prepared for everything because we went over this at practice. Zach's been seeing this since 7th grade. This isn't something new.
Right.
I thought in that game, though, honestly, I thought Zach needed to be more aggressive. In the second half, he scored, 9 or 10 points, whatever he scored. He came out, hit a 3 right off the bat. The thing about Zach is, and Brian will say this, I mean, there were times we had to say to Zach, like, you got to shoot.
Right.
Because, people see the numbers he puts up, and he don't get me wrong, he got his shots up, but there was a lot of times if we're up 15 points in the fourth quarter, he's just going to pass the ball, and we're like, no, it's 15-point lead. You have to shoot.
Right.
But, Zach's a whole different beast. I'll tell you this. I think he's changed the game in this area. And, there won't be anybody else who's ever been defended like him. But, I had a parent one time from another school. He used to bring his kids from another community. He'd bring his kids to the game. They came to about half our games. And after one of the games, he said to me this. He said, the biggest compliment I can give your son is my kids and their friends were out playing in the driveway, and they were, who do you want to be? Well, I want to be LeBron James. I want to be Kevin Durant. And he said, the one kid said, I want to be Zach Rizil.
There you go.
And, what a compliment. So
no doubt. Let's get to the phone lines. Thanks for waiting. You're on YSNLive.com. What's up?
Yes, I'm calling in. This is Mike Bass from Hubbard, Ohio, and listening to him talk about basketball and everything, and scoring and everything. The most underrated thing that is done. I've watched McDonald before, and Zach, of course, is the defense. The pressure defense they put on people rattles them, and actually Brian is my brother-in-law, and I taught him from a young age.
Yeah, right. Here we go.
It was Mike's.
Mike gets a shirt for this. No, he's right, though. I mean, our role players still had to buy into. I mean, we had a superstar in Zach, and we're going to give him the ball every time. But to make it work, somebody's got to set a screen. Somebody's got to, be in the right spot, rebound. And then other people, he's going to get doubled. They got to step up and make a shot. And, we talk about Lowville, Zach's junior year. If guys are making shots on the wing, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they were open.
Exactly.
They were open.
That was the one part where I was like, okay, this is only going to work if McDonald doesn't shoot very well, and it worked because of that.
And I'll give Louisville credit for this, because there was a period in that game where I think it was Dominic Arquito, hit about 2 or 3 threes in a row.
He did, yeah.
And tied up, and they stayed in it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about it, is it's easy when somebody does that to go, okay, I'm going to change my defense.
Sure.
They stayed in it. It benefited them. But, hey, listen, with all due respect to Louisville, I've been a head coach at McDonald for 16 years. We're like 35-3 against them. So, congratulations.
So that probably answers his question. We didn't even go near whatever he was asking.
Thanks for calling in, Mike.
Appreciate it, man.
Hi.
330-886-0813, the number to call. We're going to take a time out. On the other end, we'll continue chatting with the new co-hosts of a brand new show coming up later this month. Full Court Press is the name of the show. Former coach of the McDonald Blue Devils, Jeff Brazil, and Brian Higgins will be your co-hosts of Full Court Press, and that is coming very, very soon to ysnlive.com. Take a time out. Be back with more. It's Monday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com.
21
Good evening,
News.
and thank you for joining us.
Let's get right to our top
More
story
experienced reporters
A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown.
telling more local stories
We'll look at
Baby
efforts
boy
to
is
curb
recovering from a broken.
around our
Good
valley
Community in Niles,
afternoon. We are here in Youngstown, right up.
because you expect
Important for everyone.
No place like home.
more local news.
In Mercer County Court.
become life-threatening.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. We are joined in studio by the co-hosts of the brand new show coming on June the 19th, starting at 4 p.m. Jeff Brazil and Brian Higgins, co-hosts of Full Court Press, and digging the shirts that you guys have.
We got in a little bit of trouble with these shirts because now we're starting to promise them to people, and like everybody wants a shirt. So we're either going to have to find a lot of sponsors or people aren't getting shirts.
And they're long sleeve, which
that's a
in
problem.
the summertime could be a problem. So what I would suggest is you get 2 shirts, rip the long sleeve part out of it. That's your summer shirt.
We got short sleeves also.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Thanks for waiting. You're on YSNLive.com. What's up?
Hi, this is Jackie. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Jackie.
I would like to know what's the over-under of that Full Court Press is going to be successful.
I'll let Brian handle this one.
Over, under, in what regards? How long we last or how much money we make?
Both.
Both. I mean, we're looking in the millions for money, and we're looking at probably 2 to 3 weeks in time, I would say. The funny thing about, can I tell a story about Jackie? The funny thing about Jackie is we were just shooting the shit and saying we wanted to do a show and we're going to come up with all this stuff we're going to do. And she made the suggestion that since we have a forum, we should be a voice for people that were wrongly incarcerated. Okay, so that
she did not.
So that comes out of nowhere, right? One, we're basketball coaches, so we don't really know
SVU McDonald basketball. I get to see it now.
So yeah, and really, that's probably not what we're trying to do with this show because we kind of just want to burn some bridges and have some fun. So.
There you go.
You know,
I'm sure you'll do that.
Jackie is probably the best girls basketball player to ever come out of McDonald. That's probably not
one of the top female basketball players in Trumbull County history.
And her father will say that is absolutely 100% the reason Zach is so good.
So okay, Jackie, I'm going to kind of piggyback on this. So Jackie, and I know you were a fantastic basketball player. So in your heart of hearts, percentage-wise of where Zach gets it, is it 80-20 you, 50-50?
50-50.
Where are we standing with this one?
Oh, he's light years ahead of me. He was phenomenal to watch. It was such a joy. I mean, what a complete player. So there's just no comparison. I enjoyed the game, and it was fun to play, and boy, I loved watching him play. So just no
She's
comparison.
avoiding the question.
Jackie, did you have more to do with it, or did Jeff have more to do with it?
Jeff trained him.
Right.
So, I mean, I got to, he worked with him.
That's Jeff's argument. Genetically, I mean, it might be Jackie, but she wasn't in the gym every day for 6 days.
Let me say this. Jackie wasn't only a great basketball player, she was also a great athlete in general, but she's the best wife.
Okay, thank you, Jeffrey. I'm going to leave on that.
Oh, you're not buying this? Come on, Jackie.
Let me say this. If you know Jackie, she's quiet, reserved. We are somewhat opposites, and people say, like, how did this happen?
We're still
feeling sorry for Jackie. Like,
Right.
how did this happen?
Right.
But, we're a lot alike. We live a great life.
There you go.
Sure
By the way,
we
Jackie,
sure do.
I am friends
right.
with a cousin of yours, Tom Radabaugh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he and I have known each other for about 10 years. We both worked at a call center together many years ago. And when he told me that he was related to Coach Brazil and Zach, I was like, okay. Well, I'm going to have some fun with this then. So
Yes, he's my cousin, but he is related. That's nice. All right, thanks. Good luck, guys.
Thanks for calling in, honey.
We'll be in your basement
Wednesday, 7 o'clock.
All right, so June 19th starts at 4 o'clock. You guys are going to do the show, and the show is just going to not about McDonald basketball exclusively.
Somewhat, yeah.
We'll have some fun with this.
Well,
though.
you know what? So we got some different segments to the show. Obviously, the premise is basketball.
Sure.
Full court press, and we've
Sports
got some
in general.
different segments that are kind of named after basketball. For example, we're going to have 2 interviews typically per show.
Yeah.
The first interview will be the
tip-off.
Geez, I got to remember. And the last interview is going to be at the end called The Last Shot, and we're going to, do some things with that. But we also got a segment called Nerd Alert. People don't understand, we're just not only great basketball coaches, but we collect stupid stuff.
No, let's
We
take a step back.
collect stupid stuff.
Jeff collects stupid stuff, and he texts us 24 hours a day about everything he buys.
Okay, I gotta hear about the stupid stuff, but let's get back to the phone lines. You're on YSNLive.com. What's up?
Hi, this is Paulo de Pasquale.
Uh-oh.
I was wondering if we can place bets like Jackie's over-under through here.
The bet is Jackie says we'll either be fired by YSN within 2 episodes, or we'll be in jail. So the over/under for Jackie is 2 episodes.
And then if we're in jail, we're actually going to have people that know how to get people out of jail that are
but that would be
incarcerated.
But that would be one hell of a show, though, if we're in jail.
Yeah,
if we could film that.
Paulo, you shouldn't be betting on anything.
Well,
Paulo,
the way I see it,
listen, I'm thinking we make at least 3 episodes.
Maybe.
if you guys don't make it, me and Jimmy we'll come on next.
Then the show's gonna fail.
Wow.
Come on, Paula.
That would be the second largest shoes you have to fill other than coaching McDonald basketball.
Oh, wow.
Go ahead, Paula. What do you got next?
I was just asking about the betting. I didn't know. If
Well, Paula, are you betting over under 2 episodes?
over under. You guys film weekly, right?
Well, we're going bi-weekly, I think.
Yeah, so we got a month in us.
So yeah, then you have to go over.
Yeah, sure. We're gonna go over.
We'll go over.
You go over.
I heard right now the ratings are off the charts right now, so people want to see more of us.
We can do like a small interview with Paula right now. You want to interview?
Paulo?
Yeah, you want to interview?
Go ahead, Brian. 3 questions for you, Paulo. Ready?
All right.
What do you attribute your JV success from last year to?
Well, the biggest problem I think was people around me.
The other coaches?
Jeff wins all these games at the varsity level, and he sits on the bench with me and doesn't say a word.
You got to learn.
He's saving his voice.
Paulo, second question. Did you bank in an elbow jump shot to beat McDonald years ago when you were in high school?
Back iron, no bang.
Back iron. Let me say this. I remember that shot by Paulo, and Paulo was a fantastic basketball player at Louisville. Our strategy was pretty simple. I can't remember if we were tied or up 1 at the point.
Leave him open.
We called timeout. We said leave Paulo open because he can't make the shot.
And he made it.
And he made it. You know, that's
So you gotta give him
another
credit.
example where we were wrong.
So that's why we brought him on staff.
Last question for him, Coach. You got anything?
Let me think. How do you feel about going back to Louisville next year with Jimmy as coach and you as JV coach? It's going to be pretty ugly for you, huh?
I'm used to it now. I'm used to it.
How about you and Matisse? You guys revolted against Louisville and you went to McDonald. I mean, that's like sacrilege. I mean, what do you mean?
I think most Louisville people probably want to come to McDonald.
Yeah, I think that's where all the good ones end up.
We're creating a wave now. I opened the door, Tony followed, and then
DJ just came in and pulled the Louisville sticker off the wall for YSN.
No, with all due respect to Louisville, you know they've
been fantastic.
Fantastic.
It's a great rivalry.
They're so similar to McDonald, you know, small place and
two small towns that are very prideful of their school and
love their
athletics.
kids and athletics.
Competitive, they want to play hard, and that makes it a great rivalry.
Yeah.
And it has been from the beginning. Yeah.
I mean, even though we've beaten them like 95% of the time, some of those games were closer, and they've always been respectful.
Hey, thanks for calling in, Paul.
I get the feeling that the Louisville ratings are not going to be very good when we're done with this.
Really, sincerely, you know, Mike Mangine was the coach at Louisville for a long time, and Mike and I didn't always see eye to eye, to be honest with you, but I had a tremendous amount of respect for Mike. His kids played hard, and they were very organized. I mean, he was there most of my career at McDonald, and he just did an outstanding job with those kids.
You recently stepped down as the head basketball coach of McDonald. Kennedy Christian's coach just recently.
I know him well.
Just recently stepped down as well. Are we going to see Jeff Rizil coach another high school basketball game, or
I can't
or
imagine.
are we done?
I can't imagine me ever coaching another high school basketball game in my life.
Okay.
You know, honestly, you know, we talk about this all the time. I was probably done a couple years ago. I don't enjoy summers workouts. I don't enjoy practices. The one thing that, you know, I always enjoyed was that big Friday night game. You put me in that setting, and I think that we were probably better game coaches than we were practice coaches. Sure. You know, people come in and go, this is what you do in practice. And we didn't burn our kids out. We practiced for an hour and 15 minutes. We didn't burn our kids out for the game. But I can't imagine a situation where I'm going back coaching basketball.
I'm sure you probably heard millions of rumors every single year after Zach's freshman year on. Everyone would say, oh, these guys are headed across the border. They're going to play Kennedy Catholic. Where did that start?
Well, first of all, listen, my oldest daughter was a good soccer player. She went to Niles. She did not go to McDonald. So she opened and enrolled in Niles, and she got a scholarship to Pitt, but she transferred back to YSU, and she plays soccer for YSU. I've said this from day one. I will always do what's in the best interest of my children. If that means to go to another school to get a better opportunity, if I would have predicted the future, had a crystal ball and said Zach can go to Kennedy Catholic, and he gets a Division I scholarship, he would have been at Kennedy Catholic if he wanted to do that. He never had an interest in doing that. Never. Zach was I don't know if I'd say he's a McDonald kid, but he clearly liked his friends. He's good friends with Parker, Brian's boy. He didn't want to leave. It's not his personality. But there were some Division I coaches who came in. Bob Huggins came into our gym, and one of the comments was indirectly was he needs to get to a bigger school. He needs to get more notoriety. Being a play against better competition. It was never the goal.
Let's get to the phone lines. Thanks for waiting. You're on YSNLive.com. What's up?
Hey, it's Jimmy Franciscelli here.
Oh, here we go. We got the whole coaching staff.
Jimmy's getting interviewed.
What's up, Coach?
Big game, James.
I got a quick question for these two guys. Just a little advice, maybe. How does someone like myself follow a couple legends?
Well, that's accurate.
I don't know.
I'd
I'd say
Jimmy,
legends loosely.
Jimmy, you know what you're doing. You've been a great coach for a long time, and you're going to be fine. You already got the pieces in place, and you know what you're doing. You know that we're in your corner, and we're going to do everything we can for you. So I mean, I know there's a couple kids that came back because we left, and so you'll do a better job with those kids, and you guys will be ready to go. So you don't need advice from us. You already know what you're doing.
Let me say this about Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy was a successful basketball coach at Struthers long before he came to McDonald, and he did a great job. His team played in the district championship, and they were in the mix. He's a great coach. More importantly to me, Jimmy's a great human being. I'm glad we brought him on staff. His family is like family now to us. Just a great friend. So, he'd be a lifelong friend. So I'm just glad that, we had the opportunity to work with him, and he was with us for the last
Did
2
you
years.
leave him the blueprints on the defense?
Well, he had said he's may press a little bit. He's not sure. Every coach got to do what they're comfortable with. When you start trying to direct other people and in the pieces all got to match up.
Absolutely.
Somebody said to me, "Who's the next Zach?" Well, I don't know. I don't know if there is a next Zach. Who's the next Brandon Poole?
The breakup on that, the answer to that is there may never be another Zach.
Well, yeah, but there may never be another Braden Poole at McDonald. Right. Another Matt Sykes. You just don't know. So it's not as easy as say give the ball to that guy 20 times a game and let him shoot.
Jimmy, hey, Brian, most important thing about what Jeff just said is he used the word family.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but that's referring to you, Jimmy, like not basketball players.
We have a little running argument. Jimmy's all about like your family with your players, and Jeff doesn't buy into that.
I don't. I always tell them, they want to do 1, 2, 3 family. Like I'm like they're not family. Like I love my players. I mean, I love them, and some of them are like children to me. However, we're not family. Like that's. Jimmy, I drive him crazy.
The best part of the argument is being a third party and watching him go like at halftime when we're down 6. And he's like, Jimmy, this is why we don't talk about family. How can you trust a kid and call him your family when
he just turned the ball over 6 times?
Hey, Ron, real quick. Ron, all jokes aside, these guys have been so influential in my career. I can never thank them enough, and they know that. But I'm so excited for their show. This is going to be... Ron, all jokes aside, your show might be off the air, bud.
Hey, it just pay my contract and I'll concede. That's no big deal.
Hey, Ron, let me say one other thing about Jimmy people don't know is long before Jimmy came to McDonald, we were good friends. One of the reasons he ended up at McDonald is because we are good friends, for Jimmy, 3, 4, 5 years? 5 years when you were at Struthers?
Yeah, I was just telling somebody the story the other day when I reached out to Jeff, not really knowing him, when I took over at Struthers, and I wanted to come out and learn the press, and that was like my first year at Struthers. So, that's a long time ago, really.
Yeah. We talked a lot prior to him coming. So we're glad to have him. I'm glad he's a friend.
McDonald's lucky to have Jim.
McDonald's very lucky. Very lucky.
I appreciate the kind words. Hey, you guys go take some callers from some more important listeners.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Coach, appreciate the call.
All right, guys, good luck.
All right, 330-886-0813. I'm going to assume you guys are going to be spending an awful lot of time watching Zach play in college, but I'm curious, if you're going to watch basketball around the area, high school hoops, Are you just going to be staying in McDonald and watching McDonald, or are you just going to be going all around?
Well, with this show, if we're on the air, we've talked about this. We want to see games, and we want to interview fans on the spot. Like, here goes the game. What do you think? And it's always good. It's always good to get a parent's perspective during the middle of the game.
Oh boy, the 7-second delay could be used an awful lot. Wow. All right.
I appreciate good basketball.
Yeah.
Obviously we're going to try to see Zach as much as we can, but I appreciate good basketball. YSN had asked us maybe about like commentating or being on the radio or whatever, the McDonald games. I think we're going to stay away from that. I would prefer not to be commenting on McDonald games and players. And
we still have
that.
to go to Dollar General and McDonald.
Yeah.
Well, this is true. Yeah. And you don't want to put too much pressure on Coach Francis Shelley.
What's funny, though, about going back and watching, we've had a hard time watching other people play basketball.
Yes.
With our press and up and down and being involved in the game, when we go watch other basketball games and it's 42-36, I feel like it's watching paint dry. Mm-hmm. So like we're going to have to almost have a different mindset when we watch some of these coaches that are going to pass it 6 times and then you're going to, set 25 screens before you get a shot up. We're used to the, like, you see it, you forget it, and then, we've had a hard time watching some of the.
Is that the kryptonite to McDonald? If a coach were to sit back and go, okay, the best way to beat the style of basketball that McDonald is playing is to just slow it down or to be deliberate half court?
Listen, it's a pretty simple philosophy. The kryptonite to beat any team is have more talent. The games we lost. Typically, the teams were more talented. Everybody thinks coaches X's and O's. I think most coaches are, especially nowadays, is pretty fine-tuned on the X's and O's. Obviously you see things. I thought we were good game coaches. We would pick up mismatches and take advantage of those mismatches, but talent wins. We can play whatever style we want, but if you got more talent, you're going to beat us. And you can play whatever style you want. We got more talent, we're going to beat you. And I don't think people always think about that. The parents want to point the finger at the coach all the time. I just had an argument with a guy in a post office parking lot. The guy saying how I basically ruined McDonald basketball. Just today, just an hour ago. I ruined McDonald basketball because something had happened where we cut some kids years ago. I guess if you want to say that's our fault, then we ruined McDonald basketball. We're not the savior. We're not claiming we're any better. Hell, that last shot in the regional semifinal game this year, I wish I could have it over again. I'd drop a better play. Hell, I'd call timeout because we got the ball and it didn't work out. I'd call a timeout.
Yeah.
We screw up a lot. But you give me talent, you don't have talent, I'm going to beat you.
The one thing that I told my kids, because I was coaching 7th grade at Letonia, talented team, but they didn't work hard in practice. And the line that John Wooden has used all the time, God rest his soul, hard work trumps talent that doesn't work hard.
Yes, except if that talent is way better than the other kids.
Exactly,
who work hard.
exactly.
But
here's the point I was going to make is you guys had a ton of talent at McDonald, but they're always working hard. That was the reason why McDonald was able to win so many games.
Expectation.
You guys didn't underachieve. You got the absolute best out of everything that you had at McDonald. That's
unless
why.
you asked the guy at the post office who said we ruined
it.
Well, part of that too is we'd weed kids out through their elementary, through the middle school, to get, because they knew when they got to 9th grade they had to do it. They had to do it, or they were going to get yelled at. They weren't going to make the team.
Sure.
So we could have a kid that might not be as talented as another kid, but he stays because he's running through a wall for us. And that happened at McDonald's. And there would be kids in 7th and 8th grade that said, "I don't want any part of that."
Yeah.
And they might be good basketball players, and they walk away.
Ron, did you see us this year?
Yeah.
We weren't super talented this year. We obviously had Zach and Jake could score.
You had a couple of kids that could shoot the ball other than Zach.
Did you see Parker Higgins? In your face, 32 minutes.
Yeah.
That's a kid who he just bought in. He said, "Listen, I know I can't shoot like Jake or Zach."
And he's not going to try to shoot.
But I'm not going to.
He doesn't care.
I coached 1 year of JV girls out of Champion, my 2nd year of teaching, under Renee Ackerman. She's a legend out of Champion, had 300 wins, started the girls program. They had girls go all over the place for college and just great talent. And she would say to me all the time, "Feed the hogs. Feed the hogs." What the hell does that mean? Feed the hogs. You give the ball to your best players. and you let them make plays. And that's been our philosophy for 20 years.
Yeah, going back, you talked about like X's and O's. I think some coaches just overthink. They try to do too much. We tried to simplify it. Like, we're going to look at a mismatch, and we're going to give them the ball every time until you stop them.
But playing defense, rebounding, all that is an attitude. Trying to get those kids to buy into that attitude.
Yeah.
The success that you guys had, in large part, your kids bought into the attitude. How do you get a kid to buy into playing defense, rebounding?
Well, here's how. It's very simple. You do it or you don't play. And what happened is, like Brian said earlier, kids didn't play. Some kids quit. They didn't want to. They didn't want to be the third option on offense and be the best defender.
Yeah.
Well, don't play.
And the kids would hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
If you're not going to work hard, we're going to call you out. In the
Do you remember the Rotas?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, think about the Rotas. They were good basketball players, skill-wise.
Yeah.
They were animals. They, as freshmen, played JV basketball 20-0. As regular season, 20-0. As sophomores through seniors, regular season, 60-0. They never lost a high school regular season basketball game. How insane is that? And if we had to name our starting five right now, they're probably not on it because we've had more guys that are just shoot it better or whatever. But, I mean, how do you – winners, 80-0.
Yeah.
Doesn't get any better than that.
And you know, look, I mean, everyone can sit back and go, well, if you have talent in high school, you can have a 4 or 5 year run, whatever. Time out. This goes way beyond high school. You got to go all the way down, especially in a small school like McDonald, Latonia, Lowellville. You name the Division IV small school. You got to go all the way down into first, second grade and incorporate basketball into these kids'
Ron,
minds.
you should be our PR man.
Yeah,
you should have been in that parking lot today because
we
I've
needed you at
had
the post office.
I've heard from several people in McDonald's.
My face has been in that post office a few times, but that's another story for another time. So.
I've had people in McDonald tell me that I've ruined the McDonald basketball program today, like 16 years later.
I would love for you to ruin the Latonia basketball program. I'm just saying, that's to have that kind of success. Doesn't matter if you're perceived to be a maniac and other choice words. Winning is winning is winning, and okay, that's...
Well, you know, just in general, 30 years ago, why did you coach high school sports? Well, you know, you were a role model, blah, 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 blah. How many role models have lost and been run out of the community? Great people. There was one at Champion when I first started. I'll say his name, Terry Coxon.
Yeah.
Good basketball coach.
Yep.
Great man.
Yep.
Way better man than basketball coach, and I don't mean that negatively. He was a good basketball coach. He got fired.
Yeah.
The guy didn't swear. He didn't drink. He didn't jump up and down. He didn't scream at your kids. He didn't embarrass them. They ran him out. So what are we today? Well, we're basically a society that says you need to win.
That's it.
You need to win. You know, I mean, listen, I'm not the only coach that screams and yells. We can name other coaches, and some of those guys are winners, and they've hung around because of those reasons. We're not NBA, we're not, you know, NFL, but yet everybody wants to win.
Yeah.
And we've been fortunate. I don't know if you ask me what's the percentage of coaching versus talent versus this versus, you know, tradition versus, I don't know where we stand. I just know that we were fortunate to win a lot of basketball games.
Here's the other thing that goes right along with a small school. You got to find diamonds in the rough because, let's face it, small schools,
you have to.
You don't have the boys that Boardman, Fitch, Harding, and all the other bigger schools have. So when you have an opportunity to get a kid who might be talented but you don't know, and they're in the junior high, you got 2 years to play, show me what you got. When they get into high school, if they played in the junior high level and then they grow 4 or 5 inches and get a little bit more coordinated, oh God, now you've got someone that other smaller schools don't have that subscription where, oh, if you can't play in junior high, well then obviously we know that you're not going to be able to play in high school. That's not always the case.
Right.
That's not always the case. That's why I sit back and say, you got to play all the kids or at least give them some kind of an opportunity to play. Otherwise, if this kid grows up to be 6'4", 6'5", and you didn't work on this kid, shame on you if you're a small school.
Well, and I'll say this. In 20 years, we've probably missed on 4 or 5 kids.
Sure.
Where they've later come back out and have helped us. You
Yeah.
know, there are kids out there. Not as many, you know, every parent thinks they're the kid. Let me throw this at you too. On our TV show or our show.
Whatever we're doing.
Well, it's going to be
Whatever.
TV because, you know, we got hello.
We have a segment where it's going to be called the coach's office, and one of the things is, you know, you're cautious what you say, but when you get in the coach's office with the coaches, there's no holds barred.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh,
we're gonna have a segment, coach's office. People can send me their questions. Brian and I, we're gonna answer them honestly. And you know, some things may hurt some feelings, but we're gonna be straightforward. That's what we're trying to be here.
You know, when we talk about numbers at small schools, one of the issues we found is you need all those athletes to play. You know, to be successful, you need every one of them. The problem is if you're a superstar somewhere else, you don't want to be the seventh man on the basketball team.
Right. If you're the best football player
or the best baseball player, you want to go 12 months, and you want to, because I don't know if it's ego or you're just dedicated to your sport though. Like some kids are just dedicated to one sport. So, you know, we had a kid, Cole Accordino, we were talking about playing Youngstown Christian that year. He was undefeated
football.
The quarterback. He's the undefeated quarterback. He comes to basketball as the sixth man. He's going to get so many minutes, and he was okay with that. That's rare now. You don't see kids that are willing to give up their ego, their juice, whatever they have to play a role on a different team.
Also, let's be honest. I mean, sports are 12 months a year now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's my daughter played soccer 12 months a year. Zach plays basketball 12 months a year. 30, 40 years ago, they both would have probably played 3 sports. They played 1 in high school because of those reasons.
What are you going to miss most? Not coaching high school ball. What are you going to miss most?
Well, I mean, if I had to throw the number one, I don't want to continue to say Zach, but I mean, not having the opportunity to be around Zach in the gym, and that's going to be difficult. You know, we spent a lot of time in the gym, but outside of that, there's nothing like the big Friday night game.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's nothing like it. I mean, you know, I've never used drugs in my life. I very rarely drink, so you guys probably won't see me drinking much on the show. My drug of choice is competition. Put me on that Friday night game, and you're going to get the best of me. The problem with that is you lose that Friday night game, and you're ruined.
Yeah, your whole weekend.
The whole weekend's gone.
To the next game.
To the next game. And that's difficult.
How tough is it going to be for you, knowing that you were a very good basketball coach? You're going to be sitting in the stands watching another person who might not have your same philosophy, might use your kid a little bit differently than you would use him. How tough is that going to be for you as a parent and no longer a basketball coach to not say to Zach's college basketball coach, hey, I got him to do better things by doing this, and this. How tough is it going to be for you to not try to advise his college coach?
Well, first of all, I won't be advising his college coach. The guy makes a lot more money than me.
There you go.
And he's a great coach and a great guy. You know, Zach's a piece of the puzzle where he's going, hopefully. Whereas in McDonald, he was a bigger piece. You know, we have no expectation he's going to go to West Liberty and score 40 points a game. That just doesn't happen. And West Liberty plays 10, 11 guys, so the minutes will be cut down. You know, next year we're hoping he gets on the court. He may get redshirted. We don't know. I mean, the coach was pretty optimistic that he's going to, you know, have a chance to play as a freshman. We'll see. Either way, we're good with it. You know, we just want Zach to have a nice career and most importantly, get an education. You know, very few kids get to go to college for free.
What's he majoring in?
He's going to be business or finance. My father-in-law is a financial advisor. He owns a company. And, you know, one of Zach's goals have been kind of to follow in that path. And he interns with them now weekly. So, you know, that's probably what he's looking at doing.
June 19th, starting at 4 p.m. in the basement. Well, that's where every show starts at ysnlive.com. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
You guys will be in the penthouse
Lane's
after
World,
about 2 episodes. And then
right.
my contract is going to be bought out. And then you guys can have, you know, whatever.
We'll take you with us. Wherever we
I
go,
appreciate that. I appreciate that. And before I even sign off with you guys, I would have to acknowledge, Brian Higgins, you're wearing God's hat.
Right.
And that is, you know, I mean, you've already scored the easy layup with me
Gotcha.
wearing the Notre Dame hat. Obviously, you're a very good man.
Well, I'm going to lose all credibility with you right now because.
All right, here we go. See, you should have taken the comment.
No, I can't. No, we're honest.
All right, we're going to be honest. Okay.
And if you were
tell
wrong,
me you're an Ohio State fan. I'll rip that thing out of your head so fast.
I really don't have an allegiance to anybody.
Okay,
My little guy plays hockey, and we always make a trip for tournaments in South Bend. So
There you go.
my whole family has Notre Dame stuff on. It's all because we were there playing hockey.
Is that the best campus you've ever seen?
Phenomenal.
Yeah, it is.
And the ice there is amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
The little known fact of people that may not follow hockey that well, Notre Dame is their hockey program. Oh my God.
You see
and their
those-
facilities are ridiculous.
Ridiculous. You see them coming out with those golden domes.
Yeah.
Even
Pretty cool.
the Zamboni's got some gold on it.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, June 19th, 4 p.m., Full Court Press, brand new show. The former coach of the McDonald Blue Devils, Jeff Brazil, Brian Higgins, your co-host.
Yep.
Man, this is going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be great.
A lot of fun. All right, the beer of choice being served in the...
Going birdfish first one.
Okay,
and then
birdfish.
I think second episode we're going to go heavy. We're going to go right into some bourbon. So
He's been making his own drinks.
Mark.
You're going to see him shake.
Maker's Mark. I'm a big Woodford fan. I like Woodford Reserve. So
George Dickel whiskey.
What was that?
George Dickel whiskey.
I never heard of that.
It is out of Tullahoma, Tennessee.
Okay.
Never heard of that.
It is better, and I will say this with a straight face. It is better than Jim Beam. Don't know if it's better than Jack Daniels, but it is better than Jim Beam.
Yeah, when we drink, I'm the craft guy. Like, I always have to have something that tastes good. I'm too old to be drinking Busch Light. That's my philosophy on it. I mean, I'm paying for it. I'm gonna enjoy it. He drinks water. He likes the Miller Lite or Bud Light or whatever.
This is my water, though.
Yeah, that's it. So,
That's a good bottle of Budweiser right there.
So depending on how the show's going, he's going to be fine, and I might be on the floor.
Or if you see me start drinking, then you know the show's not going well.
Oh, Lordy. Honesty will be at the forefront.
And if you're wrongfully incarcerated, give us a call or shout out on Facebook, and we'll see what we can do.
I feel like you guys can be lawyers if this doesn't work.
Well, let me say this too. Follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
At FCPYSN.
Right.
Or on Facebook. How do they follow us on Facebook?
I don't know.
Jeff Brazil, I think. Brian does all the social media. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I have no clue about social media stuff.
Just go on YSN. They'll link
But the
you to
best tweets get shirts.
That's right. We got 6 left.
Yeah. We started with 200 shirts, and they're all gone. Everybody's like wanting shirts, showing up at the house.
Well, listen, I mean, this area loves free stuff.
That's no doubt.
I kind of prefer that this area loves us.
Well, that too, and we'll see. The numbers will show that. So
Yeah, well, we'll be a little cautious on that.
Looking forward to hearing the show. I can't wait to hear the Full Court Press. I can't wait to experience the interesting things you guys are going to be doing.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
Well, just like the McDonald basketball program the last few years, it will be great.
That's right.
Guys, always a pleasure.
Hey,
Good.
thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Hey, thank you.
All right, Jeff Brazil, Brian Higgins, co-hosts of Full Court Press, heard starting June the 19th, beginning at 4 p.m. You may want to check it out. Well, actually, you don't be about this. Check it out because it's going to be an awful lot of fun. We're going to take a time out. Dana Ballish from TV 21 joining me in just a bit. It is a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Stay in the showers. I'm keeping my eye on in parts of Columbiana County.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
It's a Monday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you, and I am joined on the YSN hotline by the sports director at 21, TV 21, Dana Balish. Dana, how are you today, sir?
Doing well, Ron. Yourself?
I cannot complain. All right, so over the weekend, we started seeing more softball. I know the Astro Falcons played a tournament up in northeastern Ohio in various locations. B-League will be starting 6 days from today. Seems like things are slowly but surely starting to become somewhat normal, even though we're a long way from being, quote, normal.
Yeah, I think, Ron, it's just an opportunity for things to start in a way, with social distancing taking place. I think it's on the commissioners or the league directors to make sure all that stuff is taking place, and see what happens. So certainly, I mean, it's good to see, some activity starting, but whether they'll continue or not is yet to be determined.
Major League Baseball and the Players Association and the owners tried to hammer out a deal the last few days. The owners have basically shot down what the players wanted. The players got a proposal this morning that they shot down immediately. So much for starting the season on July the 4th. That's not going to happen. And you got to have some serious doubt now whether Major League Baseball is actually going to have a season.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the Major League Baseball came back with a 76-game season, and there's also some 75% differential, or 75% of the prorated salaries. A lot of those, 75% of your salary for 76 games, I think they're far apart, Ron, and that has a ripple effect down because, the minor league system will not start until, the big guys start. And right now it doesn't look like the big guys are going to start anytime soon, which means, the scrapper season and all the minor league teams probably will not play as well.
Well, even if Major League Baseball does start, they're talking about no fans. Well, it's kind of something that Major League Baseball can do because, well, they have the large TV contracts, both nationally and locally, as well as the radio contracts. Not so much with minor league baseball. They don't have a large national television contract. So if you have no fans, that equals no revenue. It would make absolutely no sense for minor league baseball to play games with nobody there. That's why I'm wondering, even if Major League Baseball has their season start, I kind of wonder how minor league baseball would go about playing the season if you can't do it unless fans are there.
Well, and that has a ripple effect, Ron. I mean, to take it to the high school level, I had the honor of talking to the lieutenant governor last week, and, I think, from a high school standpoint, which, will affect college as well, I think there can be some sort of high school season and college season, but again, I think fans will be limited to, family. I think, in the case of, Major League Baseball, okay, how do you do that? I think there's just too many questions. But, at the collegiate level and at the high school level, I think you can get away with, and again, let's bring it down to the local level. Most of the stadiums probably seat around 3,000 people, maybe 4, the average. So, can you bring in fans to sit? But again, there's just so many questions, Ron. If you start football and you allow football to start, then do you have the band? And I just think there's a lot of questions. And, playing without fans, I mean, the pro sports are going to do what they want to do. I mean, golf's going to start this week with no fans. I just don't know. From a high school and collegiate level, you're not bringing in any revenue and you're paying out. So that makes no sense to me. I think it's a wait-and-see attitude. I really, really do. I think, football, it's a contact sport, obviously. Soccer, contact sport. Volleyball, not so much a contact sport. But I think it's really, really tough to determine, what's going to happen in the fall with sports and in college as well, Ron. I just think, you got to plan like, you're going to have a season. But I also think, you got to plan and say, okay, if we don't, how are we going to handle this?
TV 21 Sports Director Dana Ballas joining us on the YSN hotline. Dana, got some news last week, and it was after Monday, so we can talk a little bit about this. Youngstown State University, the women's basketball program, getting a gigantic shot in the arm with the return of Mary Dunn. She will get an extra year because of the injury and because she didn't play all that long into her senior year last year. I think she only played 3 or 4 games and then was shut down. Considering the fact that the YSU women's program played kids that they weren't going to be playing under normal circumstances, getting Mary Dunn back, man, that's a great situation for Coach Barnes and the YSU women's basketball program in general.
Well, again, she's a veteran. She was, 2 years ago, she was a first-team all-conference player, and certainly she will help out. Played 4 games last year, averaged 17 points. So she's a double-digit scorer, and she plays underneath, which will help. And certainly with the amount of young kids that Coach Barnes played, last year, they have that year of experience. And Mary will bring something to the table. There's no doubt about that.
When's the last time, or can you remember the last time, at least on paper, that the YSU men's and women's basketball program, big things are expected from both in the same year? I can't think of the last time, maybe in the Dan Peters era, where both teams were, on paper, expected to do really, really good things at the same time in the same year.
Well, you got to go back to probably many, many years ago, Ron. I mean, and again, the expectations are there, but you got to deliver those expectations. And Coach Barnes and Coach Calhoun know that. I think there's bigger expectations for the men's team because they were on the pinnacle last year. I didn't think they were a Final Four team, so to speak, in the Horizon League. This year, though, with another year older, and again, changes coming to the Horizon League as far as coaches. I mean, a lot of different coaching changes. So, but again, this time of year, usually they're conditioning and so on and so forth, and not being able to do that right now. So, everyone's playing by the same rules, Ron. So, I think there are some expectations. I think they're optimistic expectations. I don't think you want to be overzealous with this. I think it's a coaching cliche. It's one game at a time, and kind of see where you are because injuries could be a part of it and everything. But I think this is a season for YSU men's basketball where it could be a very good season. Now, does that season start on time? There's so many other intangibles involved, but I think the program has taken several steps in the right direction. Since Coach Calhoun has come on board, the one thing that's very noticeable is the changeover of players from season to season is not as many as in the past. I mean, they did lose a couple of this year. I mean, Quisenberry, is put his name into the draft. I would expect him to come back, for his junior season. So, the talent is there, the players are there, but you have to deliver on the court.
You bring up Darius Quisenberry, and my thought is, okay, the NBA season was delayed and is still delayed, and they're not going to get things going until late July. They're talking about a August draft lottery, with the draft being in October and the season starting on December the 1st. Well, what is the latest on Darius Quisenberry? Has he officially pulled himself out of consideration, or are we still in a holding pattern? And if he's still in a holding pattern, how does that affect YSU's basketball program?
Well, I did talk to Coach Calhoun, and I would expect something this week to come from Quisenberry, Ron. I think this is a case where, he wanted to get some feelers out there. I think Darius is very mature to know, look, I'm still a couple of years away. Now, the feedback he gets will definitely help him in the program because he knows what he has to work on. So, it's almost like an advanced scouting report. I mean, I would be shocked if he didn't come back. I think Darius and Coach realize that, that is a goal, but maybe not at this time. So I think this week we could hear that Darius is going to come back, but you don't know. I mean, you don't know. But, when they begin practice, Ron, and all that stuff, I mean, the decisions have to be made, and I'm sure Darius will make the right decision.
B-League starting up on Sunday with the umpires having the option to either call the balls and strikes from behind home plate or behind the pitcher's mound. And as an umpire, I'm going to call mine behind the pitcher's mound. What are we to expect from the B-League this year in terms of your guys' coverage?
Well, we'll get down there, as much as we can. I mean, Ron, with everything starting or potentially starting, I mean, we still have to look out for the safety of our people as well. Social distancing, and that sort of thing. But, this is June and July are busy months for us when it comes to, the high school football camp. So, if everything goes as scheduled, I mean, we're going to be swamped, and certainly we'll do our best. And, you have to look out for the safety and welfare, though, Ron, of everything that's going on. And, I know the people down at Scene Park will do a good job of enforcing those rules, and making sure all that's taking place. But I think there's just a lot of questions yet, Ron, when it comes to, just how sports are going to be started. And I think when you really think about it, the simplest thing is, baseball. Okay, so how do you social distance in the dugout? Well, you go to the bullpen. And things like that. I mean, the fans have to social distance. When it comes to football, how do you huddle? I think those are questions that are still not answered, and I think when we get to those points, something will have to give one way or another.
Do you expect the football camps to be open and run normally?
The high school camps?
Yes, sir.
Well, I think, Ron, I think when we get through these phases, I mean, phase one will take us through the end of June, and I think many coaches that I talk to are just being very cautious. I mean, they are being so cautious right now. I think, it will be regulated by the state and the health professionals. There's conditioning going on right now, which is, no more than 10 players on the field or in certain areas. But I think when you come to that next phase, how are you going to handle that? How are you going to clean the locker room? Everyone has to bring their own water bottle. The guys are running into each other or, this and that. I mean, the simplest thing is high fives. Ron, you can't do that. And I understand, there was some of that being done at one of the games over the weekend, baseball games. So you just got to use common sense. And obviously, that younger generation, the younger kids are not prone to this, but everyone's prone to this. And I just think you got to be very, very cautious. I know, Ron, if I was coaching, I'd be scared to death. Because
I hear you.
I just wouldn't know what to do, and I would rely on, and one, whether you're coaching baseball or you're coaching football or any sport, you want to be there for your players because you want to help them. That's part of your job. But on the other hand, man, you're taking a chance, and I think that's the scary part about this. And I don't know if we're going to have a true definition, Ron, of what football is going to be like. I think my personal opinion is I think there will be a season. I don't think we'll see a 10-game season as we sit today. I think we could see a 6 or a 7 game season. Because if you start practicing and the numbers start going up and this and that, I think they're going to take a back seat to it. I think you got to be sure on this, and I don't know when that time will come. I think what they're doing now with baseball and softball is kind of a barometer, but keep in mind that's a non-contact sport. So I just don't know. And when I talked to the lieutenant governor on Thursday, Ron, my guess is if there is a season, a football season, it will be limited fans for family, which leads to a whole other slew of questions. Again, how do you transport these kids to away games with social distancing? How do you transport the band? Do they drive to the games themselves? I just think there's so many questions out there that haven't been answered.
Dana, always a pleasure. Look forward to catching up with you next week.
Thanks, Ron.
You got it. 21 Sports Director Dana Ballas joining us on the YSN hotline. We're going to take a timeout. On the other end, we will take your phone calls, 330-886-0813. It's a Monday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
Friday night, it's fresh limousine. I'm feeling pretty good about myself, like I'm living the dream. Platform shoes, strut down the street. It's gonna get hot here, I hope you can handle the heat.
Over the years, you watched us grow, and as we've grown, so has the Myers Family Insurance team.
Thanks to all of you who have trusted our families to help you with your Medicare needs.
Myers Family Insurance looks forward to helping you now for years to come. So call our family today and remind them how cute we are.
Myers Family Insurance continues to be the area's resource for all your Medicare and retirement needs. Call today, 330-286-3044.
It's a Monday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you. Anthony Hartwig is getting himself situated and getting ready to get here. What's going on, man?
I'm back.
How was the weekend?
It's good. A lot of softball.
Yeah, you said there was a tournament somewhere around here.
Yep, the D1 Summer Showcase was in McCune Park at Canfield and also Field of Dreams in Boardman. So a lot of softball. I was in both venues. I've never been to McCune Park before. What a great complex over there in Canfield. This fantastic place to watch softball. There's, I think, 11 fields there. It was a great experience.
Good times.
And Field of Dreams is always beautiful.
Oh, yeah, Field of Dreams is phenomenal. Man, that place is just absolutely gorgeous. It really is.
I tried to see as many teams as possible with players that were on that play high school for YSN affiliates, and I try to, I'll be coming out with a blog in the next day or two that's recapping the weekend action, and it'll have some highlights of the weekend too.
You said that there were some teams from some states that weren't open yet. I'm surprised they were able to come in here.
Either they weren't open yet, or they just didn't have. I mean, I know there was a lot of teams from Pittsburgh there, a couple of teams from West Virginia, a couple of teams from New York, teams from all over Ohio also. So there were some teams that did some pretty good traveling to get to Northeast Ohio this weekend to play some softball.
Yeah, I'm surprised that that was allowed, because everything that we were hearing prior to opening up was, well, we weren't going to be doing any tournaments, and yet, here's your second weekend of softball tournaments. The Astro Falcons went to a tournament further up northeastern Ohio. I mean, so much for the idea that you're not going to have tournaments.
I think once everyone kind of got going, that idea kind of went away, because they were like, as soon as you tell someone you can go, it's hard to tell them to slow it down a little bit. So, I mean, they kept the guidelines as far as the game of play guidelines, and almost all the umpires were either wearing a mask for the whole game or just when they were talking to someone. They actually really enforced they didn't let anyone sit 6 feet close to the field, so they had an orange kind of breakaway fence around the backstop, so they weren't letting anyone sit within 6 feet of the backstop, which I thought was interesting, because last weekend that wasn't really enforced. But I know it's hard to enforce that on 4 fields compared to 2 parks. But yeah, all the guidelines were still kept. They still played with separate bucket of balls, and everyone was staying as safe as possible, but also trying to get as normal as possible.
All right, 330-886-0813. That is the number to call. Today we had a story that broke from Major League Baseball that the owners and the players offered the owners offered the players a 65-game season or a 70-game season. 76. And 75% prorated, to which the players said, I don't think so. We're not going to be playing baseball on the 4th of July. That has come and gone. And now you have to wonder if Major League Baseball is now not only going to miss playing on the 4th of July, knowing that the National Hockey League and the National Basketball Association will be back in some shape or form late next month. Now the next obstacle is, okay, is Major League Baseball, if they come back, are they going to be coming back after the NBA and the NHL open their season up? And if that's the case, what's the point?
Right. And my attitude kind of shifted over the weekend as they squabbled even more. There was no kind of decision. I thought cooler heads were gonna prevail over the weekend, and they were just gonna come out and say, okay, accept this deal. But now it's like you come back great, but if you don't, you don't. I'm kind of sick of trying to hope that baseball gets its act together, and I'm not gonna pay as much attention as I was a couple weeks ago to these negotiations anymore. I'm kind of checked out. If you're gonna come back, great. I'll tune into the Royals. But if you don't, then you know what? You blew it. You blew it. Look into the mirror, because you blew it.
Yeah, and it's both sides that blew this. Both sides are to blame. Although I've stated this forever and a day. Rob Manfred does not like this game, and he is a reflection of the owners. It's pretty obvious that Major League Baseball is trending downward for a lot of reasons, but when you have a commissioner who's the mouthpiece for the owners, and he's doing things that are blatantly toward not liking this game, what's the point in supporting a product in which the leader of this product doesn't like the game?
And if you don't buy that, there's a documentary on Netflix. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard that it kind of nails that point to the ground, called Screwball, about the kind of the steroid stuff and Tim Bosch and all that stuff that happened. But it's one of those documentaries that kind of nails that point that you were saying right across about Rob Manfred, that he does not like the game of baseball at all.
Yeah, I don't understand. If you don't like the game, why the hell are you in the game?
Right?
I don't get that.
Money. It's got to be money.
Yeah, and you're not worth the amount of money that the owners are paying you, because you've done a god-awful job And plus, you don't like the game anyway, so, give someone else an opportunity to be the commissioner of the game. It's ridiculous at this point. Let's get to the phone lines real quick. 330-886-0813. Thanks for waiting. You're on ysnlive.com. What's up?
Hey, Ron. Hello. This is your favorite former co-worker from back in the day.
Jimmy. What's up, kid?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How's everything down there? I know, St. Louis might be the best baseball city in America, and without Major League Baseball, I got to believe there's some pretty pissed off people in St. Louis right now.
Yeah, you could say so. No, I mean, it's a shame that we don't have baseball. And I agree with you. I think, both sides are missing the boat on this whole thing. And as this thing draws, longer and longer into June, and that I'm just really struggling right now to see these two sides getting together and there being a season this year. And you got to place the blame, I think, personally on both sides. I think on the owners and also on the players. But yeah, St. Louis, there's not a day that goes by where the local media down here is, hey, what do we do? Why can't we get this figured out? Because baseball here in St. Louis is just unbelievable, and it's probably one of the best baseball towns in America.
The double whammy in St. Louis is, all right, if you don't have the Cardinals playing, we can fall back on the NHL champion St. Louis Blues. Well, hockey's not being played either. Now, the good news is hockey is going to be played in some way, shape, or form in late July, and the hockey fans, knowing that St. Louis is once again going to be a contender for the Stanley Cup, they can jump on board Blues Nation and be all in on the St. Louis hockey team. But I don't understand for the life of me why Major League Baseball could not, or why they didn't, come to an agreement and have this season start on our birthday, July the 4th. I think it would have been the perfect way for baseball to not only tell the fans, hey, we're sorry for, all the delays, but here we are on the day that celebrates our nation's freedom. We give you our nation's sport, baseball. These guys, they could screw up a bad dream. As ultimately, that's where I am with baseball right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think it would have been a perfect launch point if they could have figured it out. I think once again it goes back to, there's everybody that is making sacrifices. I look here in St. Louis with the amount of businesses that were closed, and then you're able to start kind of phasing in your reopen. Then all of a sudden we go under a curfew for 6 days because of everything else going on. And I look at the unemployment, here in the St. Louis area, and it's all around the country too. But just using St. Louis as an example. People need something good. People need, to start getting things back to normal, which is going to be a new normal. And I was listening to what you and Dana were talking about in your previous segment. And, the normal that we knew is not going to be the normal moving forward, at least for the time being. And so we have to embrace it. We have to figure out ways to make things work. And Major League Baseball could have taken a major step in figuring this out. The players could have done a great job and a better job in figuring this out, because right now the NHL has the plan in place. And people in St. Louis are chomping at the bit to get things going, because this team that they've got built right now can definitely compete to keep the Stanley Cup back here in St. Louis. They are that talented and that good. You look at the NBA. They're making the positive steps to get everybody back and doing different things. Now, I'm not a big fan of the 22 team, but at least it's something. At least they're taking the lead in starting to put things together. And I tell you what, I give NASCAR a lot of credit, and I give the PGA Tour a lot of credit for what they are going to be embarking on, this week, starting the PGA Tour season. I think you've seen the results. I think you've seen the TV ratings. The TV ratings for NASCAR have just been absolutely off the chart incredible. over the last, 17, 18 days that they've gotten back to work. So, there's some fallbacks, but once again, if you're a baseball purist like the two of us are, you miss these guys not seizing an opportunity to kind of be a leader in professional sports and figure out a way to get back and do, at least something for the season. Because like I said a minute ago, I'm really feeling hard pressed right now to think that we're going to have a baseball season. I think the two sides are so far apart. It's unbelievable.
Jimmy, you got your finger on the pulse of high school sports in the state of Missouri, and you've done a fantastic job with the high school sports in and around St. Louis. Are you guys going through the relatively the same situation as in Ohio, where the word up here is we're not 100% sure that we're going to have a football season or the start of the football season? What is the environment like down in Missouri to give everyone just a taste of what's going on down there?
The coaches are going crazy. I'll tell you that much right now. The kids are going crazy. They're starting phased-in workouts here in St. Louis City and St. Louis County. They've started allowing, groups of 10 or less to start conditioning, to do, specialized drills and different things along those lines. But they got to keep their groupings at 10 or less, at least to start. Now, as the phases continue to improve over the next month, they'll be able to start adding in and doing a little bit more. I think, football is going to be tough. I really do. I think everybody's looking at what a lot of the other states are. I know that's what Missouri's doing. I think everybody's eyes right now are on Iowa, because Iowa's the first state to bring back high school sports because of their, unique scheduling, to where their softball and baseball high school championships and high school seasons are typically in the summer. So a lot of people are looking to see how Iowa's handling, the high school stuff right now with their baseball and softball game schedules ready to start next Monday. I know a lot of people are talking about the same things, and Dana mentioned it. And I think that's just not Ohio. I think it's everywhere. I'm hearing a number being kicked around here in at least the St. Louis area of no more than 400 fans in the stands. Each school will be permitted to bring 200 people. I'm hearing that the bands, you may have maybe bands at just home games, and it's not a full band. It's maybe 20 kids in a pep band. The officials, and I wear, and not only covering, I also officiate volleyball and basketball down here. The officials are going to have to go through the same steps that the players and the coaches are going to have to go through. We're going to have to get health screened before we walk into a gym and do a game. We're going to have our temperature checked. The media is going to, at least have their temperatures checked before covering games. So I think they're being very intentional here in Missouri, which I agree with. I think you have to be. I know the coaches, they're concerned with the safety factor of it. And Missouri is using a lot of guidance from the state health board. And, the St. Louis City and County, I think, has done a terrific job in keeping the public informed of what's going on. I didn't totally agree with how they started phasing things in, because they really didn't have a 100% plan. They kind of piecemealed it together a little bit. But I think everybody's starting to see how this is all going to work over the next couple months. I don't think we're going to see in Missouri a 10-game schedule. I think we're going to be looking at right around a 7-8 game schedule for football. And then it'll be interesting to see what some of the other sports do. But we're in the same boat as everybody else around the country. I feel bad for the folks in Illinois because, St. Louis, we're right next to Illinois, to where they've just gotten destroyed with this whole thing. And their kids can't even do training workouts. The only thing that they can do starting next Tuesday is they can go lift, they can condition, but they cannot have any small group training sessions. And they're going to be way behind the 8 ball.
Is that downstate or is that the whole state? Because the folks, and I used to live in Illinois, and I don't want to say hatred because that's too strong of a word, but the severe dislike for the folks that are downstate, which is, I want to say, Bloomington, Normal, all the way down to the bottom of the state of Illinois. And then you have the Chicagoland area, which is a completely separate entity of its own. Is it downstate that's been destroyed, or the whole state of Illinois? Because I can't imagine the high school folks in the Chicago area, the Chicago suburbs, that would be on board with any of that crap.
Yeah, most of it right now, I mean, when you look at, where the bulk of the cases have been, it's been up in the Chicagoland area. But, downstate, a perfect example is one of the counties right across the river from St. Louis, Madison County, that they had a big spike, in late April, early May. But then there's a lot of other counties when you move, more south, like down in the Carbondale area and Marion and those types of places where there's not a whole lot of, cases. So it's hard to pick and choose how you do it and how you phase it in. And that's one of the biggest arguments in Missouri right now is a lot of the outstate schools, the smaller schools, they've been able to get going for the last 2-3 weeks with even, less restriction. They're able to get small group workouts. They're able to do stuff with a basketball or a football, to where over in Illinois, they can't even do that across the whole state. So that's kind of where they're at right now. And, you look at on the college side too, which I, do a lot on the Division II side collegiately here in the St. Louis area with Maryville University. 4 of our schools in our conference are over in Illinois. And they're not expecting to be able to have kids even to do anything until at least mid-August. Same thing with us, at Maryville. We're probably not going to bring our kids in until at least August 1. So each state's doing things a little bit differently, but there is definitely a divide on, at least in Missouri, teams that in schools that have not been affected, and there are areas that haven't been affected, to whereas St. Louis County, which is the hot spot in the state of Missouri, have just absolutely been beat up by this thing.
Jimmy, before we let you go, I mean, this question was posed to me all the time when I came back home after the 2 summers in Texas. I would come back home after seeing a few weeks of high school football. I'd come back home and see some high school football in Ohio. And then when I was in Tennessee and Florida and Illinois and various places, and I'd come back home, people would ask me, all right, where does Ohio rank in the football? Is it better than where you were? And I tell them that Ohio doesn't even come close to touching Texas as far as football goes. The product on the field. I even stated that Illinois, and I lived in Springfield. There was an enormously successful Catholic school in Springfield. Sacred Heart Griffin High School in Springfield is a monster for football. West Tennessee has some good football, but it's in northeastern Ohio holds its own, if not better. Football in Missouri is pretty damn good. How do you compare it to the state of Ohio, Jimmy?
I think football in Missouri is unbelievable. I still think that there's a lot of schools in Ohio. If you put, some of the bigger schools in Ohio against some of the bigger schools here in Missouri, I think, some of those Ohio teams are going to win. And we've kind of seen that with some of the, with some of the games that have been played. A team that I've covered here, Francis Howell, went down and played St. X, I think, 5 years ago and got blown off the field. And then how this at that time made it run to the state semifinals. But I think on the football side of things, I think there's some great football here. I've had a chance to cover 10 D1 kids and 3 professionals. Here in the St. Louis area in my time down here. So I think football, the football here is great. Basketball, though, I will say this, Poe, there's no comparison. The basketball in the state of Missouri is absolutely off the charts, and I would put that up against any state in the country when it comes to high school basketball. I mean, I've had a chance to see Jason Tatum play, Bradley Beal play, kids from across the state and calling the state championships for as many years that I've called. Basketball is just a totally different animal down here in Missouri, and I would put basketball up against any state in the country with the kids that we've had a chance to see.
I can't even agree with you more. The basketball in Missouri is insane. It's that good. When I lived in Springfield, and Springfield's an hour and a half away from St. Louis. I mean, Lord knows I drove down there enough to see the Cardinals and the Blues play. So it's just a different animal scholastically. Because we had a few stations in St. Louis when we were living in Springfield. We could get some stations in St. Louis. Just to see the Friday night basketball highlights, your jaw drops when you're seeing some of these kids play. It was unbelievable talent, and the whole state of Missouri is that way.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, on Friday nights, you go to any gym in St. Louis, and it's standing room only. And that I'm not even saying that on the guys' side. You look at the girls' basketball here in the St. Louis area, and I coached girls' basketball for many years back home, and loved girls' basketball. Come down here, when you see kids like Nafisha Collier, who played for UConn, and then now has a great career in the WNBA, and you see some of these other young ladies that have played D1, and you see them playing in packed houses. I mean, it's just absolutely unbelievable, and the atmosphere is terrific. I love going on Friday nights, when I'm going out with our Fox affiliate here in St. Louis, and just going to games and just being amazed with standing room only and just the talent on the court. It's absolutely unbelievable.
All right, two things before I let you go. Is Grant Farm open yet?
Next Monday.
Okay.
They're allowed to start opening.
All right, and just a little side note for anyone that has ever wanted to go to St. Louis, Grant Farm must be on your list if you are a fan of the Budweiser Clydesdales. The Clydesdales are normally there at Grant Farm amongst other wildlife, and that's just a phenomenal place, period, end of story. And number two, when was the last time you were at the Hill for good Italian food?
Oh gosh, that you know what? That's a weekly experience. I live right outside the Hill.
There you go.
You know me. Yes, I've lost 35 some pounds over the last 6 months, but I still love the Italian food on the Hill, and that's one thing we've been doing here is doing carry out to support the local businesses and different things along those lines. And trust me, either pasta or there's a couple little places that have great steak sandwiches. You will not be disappointed if you come to St. Louis. The food here is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, you go to the Hill, you'll get authentic and classic Italian food. Although I will continue to say, yes, the Hill is incredible for Italian food, but still, they are nowhere near the pizza in Youngstown and the area.
Not even close, and I will still say I miss the MVR. There's my shameless plug for the crew down at FBR. I still miss the FBR. I still miss going to lunches down there and grabbing dinner and all that stuff, and I'm glad to see that they're still doing extremely well.
The MVR is definitely Hill-quality Italian food. Make no mistake about that.
No doubt about it, buddy.
All right, brother. Always a pleasure.
Hey, no problem, brother. Talk to you soon.
See ya. All right, there's Jimmy Powers, and lives in St. Louis, and he's on point in everything that he said, especially the basketball.
I can't speak to that side of Missouri when it comes to high school football, but on the other end of Missouri in Kansas City, I go down there every year around the 4th of July.
Yeah.
And aside from the 3 years where the Royals were competitive, high school football previews dominated local sports television more than the Royals did in the middle of the summer. They were having high school football previews in July. And it was getting more time than the Royals. So that's how, Kansas City and the whole state of Missouri takes their football extremely seriously.
No question. That's a very, very good football in the state of Missouri. But their basketball, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, that's the best basketball I've ever seen in my life.
And in Kansas City, it's softball, too, because it's one of USA's hubs, so they always have one of their biggest events in Kansas City. So the state of Missouri has a lot of good sports, probably because it's the middle of the United States. So they get a A lot of people converging into one spot.
And the state is just so damn big.
Yeah.
Because you have the large part of the state, and then you get the Boot Hill where you drive up 65 to Cape Girardeau and some of those other places on your way to St. Louis. You're passing these little towns, and they even have unbelievable basketball and unbelievable football. It's just the whole state is fantastic. Really is.
On the drive there, it takes us about 4.5 hours to get from St. Louis to Kansas City. So
yeah.
It takes about 4.5 hours to get across the state.
What is it? I-70.
I-70. Because that's what they called the 85 series.
Yeah, the I-70 series.
So.
Yeah, because 55, I would take from you got to go Jackson to Nashville, and then you got to pick up not Jackson to Nashville. You're going Jackson and going up 55 to St. Louis, but you got to go in back roads into the state of Missouri and then pick up 55 somewhere in Missouri, because 55 will go St. Louis all the way down to Memphis.
Okay.
Which is Memphis is the AAA farm team for the St. Louis Cardinals. They have that great relationship with the Cardinals and the city of Memphis have had a phenomenal relationship. But being that I lived in Jackson, you had to take state highways / back roads all the way into the state of Missouri and then get on 55 and go straight up to St. Louis. But a phenomenal city.
Yeah.
The crime rate is high, but still the Anheuser-Busch company, the hub is there. Grand Farm is there.
Have you ever been in the museum in the Archway?
Oh yeah,
it's fun.
Climbing the Archway is a treat
I haven't been
too.
up to the Archway, but I've been in the museum in the Archway. So
yeah.
It's a fun time.
It's a good city. It's a really good city, and again, if you want to be absolutely blown away by high school hoops, the state of Missouri is unbelievable. But it's interesting that they're going through in a lot of ways the same thing that the state of Ohio is going through. So this isn't just a state of Ohio thing. This is a whole, in some areas of the country, you're going to get more.
Yep. Yeah. He talked about Illinois. Illinois got crushed. I mean, devastated by
Illinois and Pennsylvania and New York. Well, not necessarily New York. Closer to the city got hammered. Upstate New York didn't get hammered as much, but my God, Pennsylvania and Illinois were two states that were just destroyed by this.
And you expect a place like New York City to get hit hard by a pandemic because it's a bottleneck of people, and of course it's going to get affected more by a pandemic when you're squeezing so many tourists into. It's not like huge. The tourist spot in New York City, it's almost like a bottleneck, and when you're fitting that many people into there, you're gonna be affected by a pandemic, and it's hard to get all those people out of there quickly.
Well, 8 million people in counting in 5 different boroughs. That's kind of it's tough to sit back and say we're not going to be affected. Of course, you're going to be affected. There's way too many people in a very small, condensed area. Good Lord, half of that is in Manhattan, which is a really small and condensed area.
That's why I was kind of surprised, like Japan didn't get destroyed by the COVID, because it's a ton of people and it's not a big country at all. Just cramming people into a small area.
It
didn't really get destroyed by COVID-19.
I'd love to have seen the blueprint on what they did in terms of shutting the country down, or having more severe things to do rather than here. I don't know how they did it.
I think the Asian culture also has the advantage of they've been hit by other pandemics before.
Sure.
So they kind of had probably a better blueprint, a better plan right when it started. Other countries like us had never. Well, I haven't seen anything like this since.
Been about 100 years.
Yeah. So we didn't really have a blueprint how to handle it in this the state of the world. So we kind of ran around with like a chicken with our head cut off for a little bit until we decide what to do.
It'll be interesting to see what happens as we move forward. But, we are moving forward, and things are slowly but surely getting better. We've got Sandlot Baseball that is ready to go in 6 days, although they did play Sandlot Baseball over the weekend. Yep. Congratulations. The Astro Falcons getting a tournament victory up at I believe they played the last couple of games at East Lake in the Lake Erie, the Captains, the low A affiliate of the Indians.
And for the first time in over 100 days, we had live sports on YSN on Saturday from Scene Park.
There you go.
So it took a while, but we're back on the horse, and we can't wait to get it in full gear on Sunday.
Yeah, I have to give a plug to Bob Carpenter, of all people. Bob Carpenter is the television voice of the Washington Nationals, and he has, without any hesitation from me, the best scorebook I have ever seen in my life. And I am going to I still have plenty of sheets left over from the last year of West 10 or Altoona baseball. And I only played like 140 games, and there's like 60 more sheets, which I've used some. Each book, a radio book, has 200 room for 200 games. So I still have plenty of real estate left before my book is all taken care of. I'm going to rip out what is left of my scorebook, and I'm going to give it to everyone to make some copies and whatnot, or to just use that for their scorebook and go from there. Because I just love the scorebook and the way it's printed out to where you have everything on that page.
So it's like his design. He went and formatted it, or
he designed it. Yeah,
Wow.
He designed it himself. And I was a little surprised by this. I've been in the Indians' home broadcasting booth. Tom Hamilton and I have a nice relationship where I consider him to be a good friend, and we will sit and BS. The last couple of years when I was up there, we would sit and BS in his, quote, office. And we were talking at one point, and I said, hey, what do you do for your scorecard? It's good, do you do Bob Carpenter's scorecard? And he goes, I did. He said, but I made my own one up. And he pulls out this little scorecard, and it has, the defensive alignment here, and the starting lineup for everyone here, and the bench players for this team over here, and the pitching staff for the opposition over here. And I'm like, okay, you got all the T's crossed and the I's dotted. So you look on your scorecard and you know where the right fielder is. So you look down, you get the person's name, then you incorporate that in the call and whatnot. But then I was looking at his card, and I was like, Tom, I said, this paper, I said, this is a really thick, paper. He goes, it's a thick stock paper. So I don't have really tiny, paper thin, no pun intended, kind of thing. So I have my entire season is chronological in a folder. So all I need to do is, when I want to gather information from before, just dig it up and there you go. I like the book where you can just flip back instead of going like this, trying to figure out where your sheet is. This is spiral bound. I can just flip back to whichever point that I'm trying to get across.
And that's what I love about Sandlot baseball and the high school baseball in the area. They use Game Changer, which is a scorebook on your phone.
Yeah.
Or iPad, whatever you want to use.
Yeah.
So they're keeping all the stuff for you.
Yeah.
So you can worry about the call and just look down and you got it.
I couldn't do that. I have to write it down. I couldn't do it. Just like even though in minor league, well, maybe not minor league stadiums, in major league stadiums, it's definite. You get a pitch count for each starter.
Yes.
Oh, I still have my clickers.
Yep.
Minor league habit. I still have my clickers, and I'm trying to keep up with whoever's doing the official score in terms of how many pitches a person is throwing. I'm keeping up with mine because you know this. the official scorer is way away from the broadcaster, and you're not going to know how many pitches that kid has officially pitched until the inning is over. Yep. Well, if you're in the middle of an inning and you know that this kid is laboring, you can say, okay, he's thrown 85 pitches in this game, 34 this inning alone, and you can do that by writing down on the top of your score sheet after the end of an inning how many pitches the starting pitcher from the other team has thrown. So it just, little things like that. God, I can't wait to get back in the booth and call 2 games on Tuesday and 2 games next Thursday. I can't wait for this.
Another thing I loved about Game Changer, especially for my baseball calls, baseball I'm color and then softball I'm play-by-play in the normal situation when I'm doing high school. Game Changer, you can go in and they have all the advanced stats. They calculate it for you. You look at the spray charts. You can look at the hot and cold statistics. So that really helps you out as a color because you can just look real quick and be like, hey, this guy hits a lot of balls to left field. Things like that you don't have to dig for with Game Changer.
Yeah, a lot of things have changed. No pun intended. That's but good Lord, I can't wait. Cannot wait. 6 days from now. B-League season starts. I already got 6 games.
Your first call is on Tuesday, right?
First call in the broadcast booth is Tuesday. First game will be Sunday, right off the bat. I'm at scene 2, if I'm not mistaken. So right off the bat, we're doing 14U baseball. So, and I've already said I'm going to umpire from behind the pitcher's mound. And hopefully don't get clobbered by a baseball.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't. Well, obviously it's harder to do in softball because the dimensions are shorter. But all the umpires that I've seen the last 2 weekends have been behind the plate. So I know it's a lot harder to be behind the pitcher in softball because the dimensions are smaller. So you're 60 feet away from the hitter instead of, actually you're 45 feet away from the hitter if you're in softball.
Yeah.
So. It's a lot scarier to be that close in a softball field.
Well, as I've told everyone, where the umpire is going to stand calling the balls and strikes would be position C. In as a field umpire, you would be position C, although you would be a little bit closer to the mound. When you're an umpire, position A is if nobody's on base or if runners are at first and third. The field umpire is going to be foul territory behind the first base bag about 10 or 15 feet. If there's nobody on and there's a ground ball, then that umpire is going to hightail it to a very close area where you can see ball, mitt, foot, and determine whether the guy beats the throw or whether the first baseman has his foot off the bag. You can determine that by standing in a location that is away from the throw, but where you're going to be. That's position A. Position B is going to be between the mound and the first base bag, but you're going to be back a little bit toward the dirt. Mm-hmm. You're going to be back a little bit. And position C is third base side. Between the third base bag and the pitcher's mound, and you're going to be back a ways. Well, the home plate umpire, if you're not behind the plate, you're going to be to the third base side of the pitcher's mound, but you're not going to be back. You're going to be a little bit closer.
And I saw a couple things this weekend that got me thinking. I know it was softball, but still, in a situation, and I'm going to ask you because you're going to be umpiring, so how you're going to deal with this. In a situation where the field umpire is, say, between first and second, call it like a runner on first and second. So they're not down the lines.
Yep.
A check swing. You're not going to be able to see depth perception if the guy broke the plane. And your field umpire is not going to be able to see it much better. Does that have to be a judgment call for you?
It will be the home plate umpire's call, but believe it or not, you can see a little bit. Not nearly as much as if you're down the line with nobody on base. If you're down the line with nobody on base and a right-handed batter does a check swing,
Right. Yeah.
You absolutely know whether this guy has broken the plane of the plate and you can ring him up or say ball or ring him up for a strike or whatever. Mm-hmm. But when you're closer to the pitcher's mound, on with a runner on base, the infield umpire is between the mound and the first base bag in fair territory over by the dirt. Yeah, you're not getting as clear of a shot. You're not getting as clear of a shot. You can still see it, but it's not as clear.
Yeah, if it's going to be close enough where you're going to call it a strike, then you just have to tell the kid, don't make it that close.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And,
sorry.
And for me personally, and I can say this knowing that I was doing some umpiring in the field, and the home plate umpire would make the call, I actually can see better, the whole picture better, from behind the pitcher's mound than I can from behind the plate. I mean, not that I can't see it from behind the plate. You get a better, from just my opinion, you get a better angle for everything from behind the pitcher's mound. It's just you're not on top of it. Where if you're on top of it at behind the plate, that's the be-all, end-all. But you actually have just as good a view, if not better, from behind the pitcher's mound in terms of where the pitch is, if it's in the strike zone, the hollow of the knee to the bottom of the armpit, how far off the plate is it, inside or outside. I think you can make a pretty good, reasonably good call from behind the pitcher's mound.
When you watch umpires for a while, they tend to develop a strike zone per se that they're going to call. What's your kind of strike? Do you call them? Do you think you have an extended outside, or do you think you have an extended low? Or
I'm basically by the book when I'm on my A game, which again we all make mistakes, but I'm basically on the book, and the book says the hollow of the knee to the bottom of your armpit. So here,
I think didn't they lower that in major leagues? Isn't it?
They did lower it in the major leagues. Yeah. I would go from about here,
which is the letters.
Yeah, all the way down to the hollow of your knee. And for me, if I'm, and I will take that page from what I've learned. If you're going to make those calls, you're consistent from day one. So from the first pitch.
That's the thing.
If I'm calling this a strike on the first pitch, I'm calling this the rest of the game.
That's the one thing. I mean, the umpires, they call it one way, and then it seems like they call it a different way for the other team.
Yeah.
I know they're not doing it on purpose because no one does that on purpose. But it's a frustrating look.
Yeah.
It's like that was a strike an inning ago for us.
Exactly. If I'm going to call this, then I have to call this the rest of the game. My thing is, and here's an interesting rule. If you put home plate, which is 18 inches one side to the other side of home plate, by rule, if a ball, any part of the ball, touches the corner,
it's a strike.
It's a strike. Yeah. So you might have this much of the baseball touching the outer edge, the black of the home plate. Boom. Calling it a strike.
That's what, 4 baseballs wide, you think? Or maybe 5, maybe 4.5? Because I know it's like 2.5 for softball.
Yeah.
So I was thinking maybe 4.5.
I think it's like 4, something like that. But, I mean, you take one ball from the extreme outside corner, if you have barely a part of the ball, and then you go to the other end of the ball, that's about 2.5, 3 inches off the plate, which
that's where it gets dicey.
Again, people are going to say, well, look at the rest of this ball. It's off the plate. How can you call that a strike? Well, a very tiny part of that baseball was in the strike zone, hence it's a strike.
And the best players can put it right in the river there, where some pitching coaches call it the river.
Yeah.
Space between home plate and the batter's box, where you can catch just this tiny
sliver.
It's a sliver.
Just a sliver of it. Now, the thing that bothers me and will bother me until the day I die, Game 6 of the 1995 World Series, where the home plate umpire thought that 6.5, 7 inches off the plate was a strike for the Atlanta pitchers. And that's going to bother me for the rest of time, because you look at that and you're like, in what world is that a strike?
Right.
That is nowhere near home plate.
Especially like if you're a major league umpire and if you call that in Little League or something, but you're pretty experienced if you're a major league umpire.
Yeah.
How are you calling that?
Yeah, now, I mean, I give him a little bit of credit for staying with that the entire game. And again, if you're going to screw up, then and you make that call and you want to make it for the rest of the game, okay, except it's so blatantly obvious that pitch is nowhere near the strike zone, and you're going to call that a strike. Boy, you've really handcuffed one team then.
I mean, I've seen umpires call balls that scrape the plate almost a strike, and it's like, in what world?
Yeah, I mean, their knees are not in that area. Yeah, that's crazy. But again, I mean, nobody's perfect. I mean, it's, and here's the other thing that, I wish that parents would understand this. Okay, it's great your kid is out playing the game, and your kid is fortunate enough to be in a very well run program like Class B, and it's a great program. But let's be cognizant of the fact that umpires make mistakes. Even major league umpires make mistakes, albeit their mistakes aren't all that much. But the lower you go, the more mistakes an umpire is likely to make. Look, we're not perfect, and I mean, if a call is made, live with it.
And the last 2 weekends, for the most part, the fans have been pretty okay with the umpires and the calls. But the one call, it was a check swing, because it's why I brought it up. The girl went like this, and the barrel never even moved off her shoulder.
Yeah,
and it was called a strike. Called her swinging. And people got upset about it, but I'm saying, like, okay, there's one umpire behind the plate, there's another in the field on second base. No one has a great look at
No one has a great look. Yeah. Now, if the umpire was on the first base side, obviously you get the second opinion and you go from there.
So you got to just, it's one call. It doesn't change the whole aspect of the game.
No, absolutely not.
You got to just take it.
Absolutely. I mean, a great example for me. And I've said this led to my one and only technical foul this past year with Letonia. We were in the EOAC semifinals playing a very good Wellsville team in Wellsville. And I'm not going to say that there's a home field advantage in Wellsville, but there's a home field advantage in Wellsville.
It's not as dramatic as some of the parents think.
No,
but
it's there. It's definitely there. Well, one of my kids is a prolific, not as prolific as Zach Razil, obviously, but a pretty damn good three-point shooter for a 7th grader. He was... he had just gotten a pass from one of his teammates and was jacking up a three, to which I give him the green light all the time because he's that good. His shot is blocked, and the ball goes out of bounds. Nobody else touches it. His shot is blocked, and everyone saw that his shot was blocked. Ball goes out of bounds, and the official says, Wellsville ball. And I looked, and I said, wait a second. I said, my kid's shot was blocked, and nobody else touched it. How are you saying it's Wellsville's ball? It should be our ball. He goes, no. He says, it's Wellsville's ball. I said, can I get a second opinion from the guy underneath the basket? He goes, this is my call. I said, well, sir, with all due respect, you got the call wrong. I said, the shot was blocked. He goes, I didn't see it. I said, I got 50 parents behind me that saw it from 40 feet away. How the hell do you not see it from 2 feet away? He goes, you're on thin ice. Wellsville ball. I said, you're gonna give the ball to Wellsville. He said, yes. So I threw my arms up and I said, are you friggin' kidding me? I didn't swear. I didn't say anything vulgar, which I probably could have, knowing that I got a technical foul over this. But it's a junior high game. I'm not going to say anything that's going to offend any of my kids' parents. But I threw my arms up and I screamed, are you freaking kidding me? and a guy hits me with a technical foul. Right then and there, I knew. I knew right then and there we were going to be in an uphill battle.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Well, that's the other thing, that sometimes the referees that won't put away their pride and ask for help sometimes drives me kind of, scratches my head. Because, I mean, if a coach asks for an appeal, just give him an appeal. What's the big deal? You know, oh, it's my call. I get to make it.
Well, the appeal in this case would have been to someone who's even worse. I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
You know what I mean? But like you should be able to get an appeal, and that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Even in baseball and softball too. If they ask for an appeal, you should just be like, okay, I'll appeal it.
This is the smaller version of having home field advantage in Steubenville for football games. Yeah. Denny Liebert tells a great story. Boardman is playing Steubenville. Highly contested game. I mean, this is a really good back and forth game. Spartans score. They kick the extra point. And the extra point goes right down the middle.
No, don't tell me. Don't do it.
And the official closest to the upright says no good. And everyone's losing their mind saying, how in the hell can you say that this is no good? And if I am lying, I'm dying. The official goes to the coach and says, it was too high.
It's not a box.
No, exactly. It was too high. What the hell does that mean? It was too high.
I don't know if I could have coached the rest of that.
I didn't have a dog in the hunt, but I'm just like, I'm even getting pissed hearing this. I'm like, how the hell does it was too high? What the heck kind of a call is that?
We're going for 2 every other touchdown. I'm not dealing with that again.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I was just and Denny was broadcasting the game, and then when he got word of it was too high, they just made a mockery of it the rest of the game. I mean, it just at that point you just shake your head and okay, yeah, home field advantage.
Yep, you know you're fighting 2 opponents at that point.
And look, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you go to a place, you know that you have to, let me put it in a boxing phrase, you have to knock out the champion to win in certain places.
Yep.
Because if you go to the cards, you're not going to win. Doesn't matter if you've dominated this guy, you're not going to win. You have to knock the champ out in order to win. And that's in certain places. It just is what it is. So, you learn to live with that. Not right, but it is what it is. That's part of it is it's tough, but again, it all goes to the officials.
All goes back to the point that referees and officials are human.
They're human. Absolutely, they are. And some of them are humans that live in the town in which they're refereeing, and we'll just leave that one alone too. All right, 330-886-0813. We're back in a bit. I'm still salty over that. Carson Brock's shot was freaking blocked, and the ball went out of bounds, and it should have been Letonia ball, and I got screwed.
Well, you know what happened? The shot was too high.
Well, that too. We're back in a bit. Stick around. More to come.
They say American craftsmanship is making a comeback. Of course, at Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, it never went away.
People are floored by Baird Brothers' authentic hardwood floors. They stare at our stairs and adore our doors. Baird Brothers reflects 3 generations of family craftsmanship. Visit our huge in-stock selection in person or at BairdBrothers.com.
Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plans still meet your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
Monday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hardwig. Just a reminder again, June the 19th, 4 p.m., down in the dungeon of the basement of, is it going to be Coach Razil's basement or Coach Higgins' basement?
Oh, I don't know. Probably Razil, I would assume.
Be that as it may, Full Court Press will be premiering on June the 19th. And I got to be honest, and
it's going to be a party.
It is going to be a party, and I got to be honest because when you don't know someone and you've watched that person coach and you've watched some of the antics, you have preconceived notions. You really do, and especially if you're in a school that is a rival of McDonald's, then you really have a preconceived notion of Coach Razil. I asked the question of why weren't you doing the starting lineup? Why weren't you, shaking hands with the players? And I'm glad that I got that answer. And the answer was, I was superstitious. It had nothing to do with the players. I was superstitious. It's interesting. If you don't know someone, but you are basing it on what they do in terms of as a coach, if you don't know this person, if you've never talked to this person before, but you only go by how the person is in their profession, boy, you can make some really dangerous assumptions. I never met Jeff Razil in my life until he came in here. And I got to be honest, I thought he was an a-hole when he was a basketball coach at McDonald. He's not. He's absolutely not. He's a good guy. He has his way of coaching basketball. Okay, doesn't mean he's that kind of a person away from basketball. And that's the lesson I think a lot of people should take. You wait until you get to know, or wait until you at least know this person now before you make a decision one way or the other what the person's like.
I think that's exactly it. I think from my perspective, I was in the same boat you were. I've maybe passed him in some of the games we had early on in 2017.
Yeah.
Never had conversations with him. He didn't really know who I was. I didn't know. Like, we could have been at Walmart and passed each other in an aisle, and we never would have known who each other were. But when this opportunity came, it was all the things that I heard about Jeff and Brian and their coaching styles that had me kind of like, all right, we're getting this brand of YSN to where we want it to go. Do we really want to take it down this road? And I said, I at least owe it to our fans, to our people, to the athletic director, Randy Riccatelli, who kind of proposed this. I said, well, let's have a meeting and see where it goes. Because I've heard a lot about him. I'm sure he's heard a lot about us. And we'll go from there. I love him. I love Brian, because, and what was cool is you got to hear it firsthand.
Yeah.
Don't judge a person of how he coaches or how she coaches. Judge them how they treat people. And what I mean by that is always watch how people treat their significant other. And when his wife calls in, it was a different Jeff Razil.
Yeah.
It was a complete, and that's to me, that's always the way it's going to be. He is passionate. If there's one thing, he's passionate and he's purposeful. And I think there's a lot of what we do in what he does, because everybody's always looking for us, and I hate to always bring it back to us, but he's a perfect kind of leader and an example of what we're trying to do. What he did with McDonald is what we're trying to do with YSN.
He took a group that nobody believed in, everybody thought was a second fiddle, third fiddle, and all of a sudden they're the team to beat. And his son, which I asked him out there, if it wasn't your son, would you have coached him any different? Absolutely not. He was a leader. He was the guy. So for us to bring him on, and I just told him and Brian, I said, just be real. Just be yourselves on your show, and it's going to be fantastic. And the numbers were through the roof when they came, and you got a ton of calls.
Yeah.
Now, and we already have people saying that it was planted. We didn't plant any of those calls, and neither did they. Now, I don't know about Jeff's wife calling in. That might have been planted just in case. But you look at, we had some of the most successful calls that we've had to date because they pushed it. And, we can learn a thing or two from them. And they're going to have a good time with this. Like some of the things that they've told me in confidence that they're going to do, people are going to love. It's going to be unorthodox. It's going to be out-of-the-box thinking. And we're excited to have two guys that are excited about reporting sports. So
I wanted them to basically put the press defense on
I know. You wanted them to give them the entire playbook.
There you go. No, I just want the press defense. Offensively, we got that covered. I want that press defense because when it's run to perfection, oh dear God, that is a really good press.
That's the thing that even if he would have done that, it's really hard to copy and paste a press like that because your kids have to execute it perfectly, or else it's an easy layup for the other team.
And that's what he said. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable when that team's putting in 10 points in a row and you go on a 10-0 run. There's a lot of coaches that are not comfortable doing that because
you got to stay with the product.
You're giving up momentum. You have to have belief in yourself. And Jeff lacks zero confidence. He's got it all, and so does Brian. And what I love about them is the fact that they're going to do things that have never been done, and that's what we're trying to do. So, was I nervous? Absolutely, absolutely. There's a part of me that's nervous, but when you look at what they're like, they're comfortable because they're coaches. This thing that scares the hell out of everybody that we talk into every day, they're not newbies. They know exactly what they're doing, and they talk to you the same way that they'll talk to anybody else. And that's what impressed me. And your questions were fantastic as well. It was probably in the last, and this is no offense to you, in the last 3 months, that's the best hour of sports talk that we've had because it was real.
In the last 3 months, it's the first time we've had anyone in the
here,
studio,
right?
Yeah.
With all due respect,
I didn't tell him one of my
kind of dry.
I didn't tell him one of my favorite stories. I am very good friends with the Velasquez family. Mm-hmm. Sharon and I went to school together in Boardman before I left Boardman for Latonia. I have a great relationship with Dominic Velasquez, who's graduated from Western Reserve now, 2 years?
2 years ago, yep.
I think he's going to be in his third year at Ohio State. Ophthalmology, by the way. Kid's smart as hell.
Sponsorships available in 4 years.
Senior year in Berlin Center, I had told Dom, I said, do you ever think about just running over there when you're introduced to the starting lineup and going right past Coach Brian and going right into the McDonald huddle and shaking Jeff's hand? He goes, consider it done. And he did it. I just looked at him and I was like, the ball's on you to do something like that. He goes, he was laughing the whole time when I went over there and did it. I'm like, okay, that's,
out of that whole conversation, I think I gained more respect for Jeff because he laid it all out there. When you asked him why, he said, here's what it is. He didn't blink. He didn't even flinch a finger. Because he's probably been asked that before.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
And the reality of the whole situation is now he's got his own show where people are going to light him. I told him, I said, be careful what you wish for because now you are a target.
Yeah.
When you put yourself out there like we do every day, you become an absolute target, and people will make fun of you. They will tell you that they will just up and down strip you of any pride that you have. So be careful what you wish for. But his response to me was, bro, I've been coaching for 20 years. He's like, if you don't think that they've stripped me up and down of everything and called me every name in the book, and that's why I have complete confidence in what he and Brian are doing.
He's had to deal with something far worse than what any broadcaster has to deal with, parents.
Well, we still have to deal with parents.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
yes,
not in terms of.
But here's, he's also put a successful team together.
Oh yeah.
And when you are in a situation like that the expectations are so high for the community, for the parents, and McDonald is I mean, there's some high expectations in every sport out there. So when the grand scheme of things doesn't come to fruition, parents are going to hold the coach accountable, because we all know it's never the kid's fault.
No.
It's never ever and that's just parents, right? I dealt with it. Anthony dealt with it. Oh, I'm sure you've dealt with it.
Oh yeah.
It's never the kid's fault.
Never the kid's fault.
It's always, the coach didn't do this, the coach didn't do that. But I'm excited because they're excited. I want full disclosure. We didn't pay for any of their shirts. They bought those on their own, and they've been handing them out. Like I said, if you guys want to do this, it's on you. When it takes off, then we'll get you some shirts like we're doing for you. I said, but you've got, and they, without blinking, they bought their own shirts. They used one of our sponsors, Nightline, and I love it. They brought one to me. I was kind of excited. I'm not going to lie. There's not a whole lot of teachers that get the apples.
Did they give me a shirt?
No, they didn't. No. Sorry.
And I give them an hour of fame on my show. They don't give me a shirt.
Yeah, I guess you got to own the network. I think that's how it works.
I'm a bitch slap a couple of those people. Dang, that's terrible.
Oh my goodness! Why didn't you say that when they were here?
Well, I don't.
Tough guy.
I don't want to get my ass kicked. We're not going to do that. Come on.
I'll make sure you get a shirt.
Oh no, it's
but
all right.
But you also have, and again, I know we said this, I think Friday, the Pono shirts are coming, and I couldn't be more excited, because if anybody's familiar with the Bo Jackson picture of Bo Jackson with his shirt off, with the baseball bat behind, and also the shoulder pads, that is going to be Ronald Potesta, and I cannot wait. It is going to be viral.
I'm going to blow out a shoulder by holding a bat like that.
Well, then hopefully we'll sell some shirts, and you can pay for the reconstruction surgery.
The reconstructive surgery that's going to be happening.
You better do your home run derby before that, then. You don't want to blow.
Well, another breaking news point is Ronald Potesta will be taking part in the 40-yard dash challenge.
We might have to change that date.
Why?
Well, it just dawned on me. My father and I are shooting 18 holes of golf, not 9, 18 holes of golf at a very nice golf course in northeastern Ohio, way away from here.
When?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
So, may not do it this week.
Why?
Did you see me walking in here on Friday?
By Friday.
After 9 holes?
By Friday, you'll be fine.
18 holes of golf, I'm going to be going.
You'll be fine. Listen, I'm going to put myself out there and say we're not going to break any speed records on Friday.
Hell no! I'm going to be sundialed.
Well,
as I once told someone, I once ran a 4.25 in high school, and they looked at me and said, "Really?" I said, "Damn right. 4 minutes and 25 seconds. It might be a 4-minute 40-yard dash."
No, there's no way. Anthony had a 17.04. In the wheelchair.
I'll be a lot faster than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're up against this. You're up against my 5'1".
Not going to happen.
You're up against Trey's 5'7"?
Not going to happen.
Paul's 6'5".
Might be able to do that. I'm not sure.
Who else did we have? We had Quinn, who's still the clock's still running, so you've got a chance there.
I mean, the clock's still running because he did a wipeout and
twice.
Yeah.
So I hopefully you can beat that. As long as you finish, you beat Quinn.
He had the Goodyear tires that were completely bald in the back and kept spinning his wheels.
We're gonna get Richie Giuliano tomorrow, so we'll have that one. And then, man, that buzz is bad, isn't it?
I want to know when Steve Leslie's running, and I want to know when Thorny's running.
Well, let's get Thorny back on the phone. That's the biggest one.
Because I'm not going to open my mouth and say anything, but if Thorny can run under 7. Then I think we'll both be in good company, because I think I can run under 7.
Do you think you could beat Thorny and Steve?
Hell no.
Okay. Do you think you could beat Paul's 6'5"?
Depends on how limber I am that particular day.
Well, you've got 18 to warm up tomorrow.
Honestly, I seriously doubt.
What's the number you would put on yourself?
5. I'll be disappointed if I run over 7.
Okay, so if you're
Yeah.
7+, you think you're...
I'm going to be disappointed.
Now, are you going to run a second time if you do a 7+?
I may need oxygen 35 yards down the field. So, hell, you're talking about a second time. I'm just hoping that we have EMTs 41 yards after the 40-yard dash.
Well, I've got the East Palestine EMS on standby, but
That's all I need. That's all I need, because 911 here, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, they're a couple blocks away.
Did I ever tell you this? I had 911 in the city of Youngstown pissed at me for at least 2 months after what I did. We're in Oakland Field, which was across the street. I used to work for the first sports radio station in town, which was 1330 WASN, and it's in the old WHOT building. Now, we're not talking about Knox. We're talking off Shirley Road, across the street. No, not Simon Road. We're talking off of Shirley Road in Youngstown, across the street from Oakland Field, east end of town. Really bad part of Youngstown. Yeah, really bad part in the 90s. Really bad part of town. We were doing high school football, high school basketball, high school baseball, and we were doing B-League baseball, sandlot baseball. Now, back then, this had to have been 94 or 95. This was just before Bob Scene Park was getting open.
So it was 94.
So they were still playing games at Pemberton, at Oakland, at Ipe, which is no longer in, whatever. So they're playing a game at Oakland Field. Bad section of Youngstown. I didn't have to take equipment that far. It's across the street from the radio station.
Was Oakland the one with the cement bleachers? Okay.
Yes.
Ooh.
All right. So I'm doing a game in the cement bleachers, and I'm broadcasting a game, and a kid does a Jason Kendall. Steps on first base the wrong way, breaks his ankle, dislocates, whatever. He's in agony. They're calling 911. 40 minutes later, there is still no ambulance at Oakland Field, and this kid's in agony. And finally, I'd had enough, and I said, apparently in the city of Youngstown, 911 stands for 9 hours and 11 minutes.
Uh-oh.
Oh, man. You'd have thought I killed their newborn.
That's not good either.
And I just looked at him.
Go there.
And I just looked at him, and I was like, you know what? I said, look, this kid's in agony. He's clearly got a broken leg, broken ankle, whatever. Y'all you're not even here 40 minutes into this. I mean, good Lord, what the hell's going on here?
What did you learn from that?
I learned that I probably shouldn't mention anything like that anymore. Although my boss at the time looked at me and he said, I'd have done the same thing. I'm like, okay. So I didn't get into hot water with them, but yeah, you'd have thought I killed someone.
Yeah, you can't do
when
that.
I said that.
That's one of the first. You never point fingers or call out people that are trying to save your life, no matter how late they are, or how much you think you know better.
Yeah,
those are the last people you want to call out.
That was kind of the one moment that I kind of like. Yeah, probably shouldn't have done that.
Was it one of those instant remorse moments, or were you standing behind?
I was still pissed, so it didn't matter to me. I was pissed for the kid, and I was pissed for the kid's family, so it didn't matter to me.
Yeah, it's a bad situation.
But then the day after, when you've gotten called into the principal's office per se, and my boss gets yelled at from the city. For how can he say something that stupid?
So bad news, good news, right? So the bad news was you said it. The good news was somebody heard you say it, which means somebody was listening.
Absolutely, which leads me into another story.
Uh-oh.
I can't use the word because obviously it's not a word we can use.
Please don't.
But there was a kid that was working in AA ball. This was before I got into AA ball. This was a legend in the Southern League. Apparently, this kid just described someone hitting a ball off the wall in a stand-up double, and he described it in a very casual, R-rated type of play-by-play, where he said, line drive deep left field over the head, line drive deep left field, going back is Martinez, still going back, it's off the effing wall, on his way to second base, and he gets in standing with a double. Didn't use any... didn't use accentuate the word, just casually saying off the middle and on his way to second base with a stand-up double is that. He gets home from the road trip, and the general manager says, "You're fired." He said, and it's not because you used the word. It's because nobody gave me a call after that game was over the next day. Not one person called to moan and groan about you dropping an F-bomb on the air. Because of that, you're fired.
What? Why?
He wasn't getting any listeners.
Well, that's not necessarily the case. Nowadays, you can see how many people tune in. But back then, I'm guessing it took day.
Yeah, but don't you think that someone would have said, "Hey, this guy just dropped an F-bomb on the air. How the heck can you do this?"
But you know as well as I do that a lot of people won't call you out unless, in your words, you accentuate it, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if we do it as an announcer, and we make flubs, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah, I made one that got me sent into Jim Campbell's principal's office one time.
Can I tell you real quick, the worst part of being an owner is there's no principal for me.
No.
So it's self-guilt.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
no, you do have a principal. It's your wife.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But, well, the other night.
You're going to get sent into her office, and I don't want to be anywhere near that office.
So the other night when we did our first Class B game, so to speak, it was an exhibition with the Astro Falcons and the Team Ohio Pro Select. It's been 104 days since we've done any live.
Yeah.
So anytime you go that long without doing anything,
rust.
You think about rust. You think about awareness. You think about, because we turn into almost different people when we put the headset on.
Yep.
When you are in the game, you turn in. There's different voices we use. There's different inflections. There's all this. So I'm starting to get nervous about 6:10, 6:15, and I'm like, oh, it's good because I love it, and the adrenaline starts going, but then you start thinking, oh man, how do I call this now? I forget how to call a game. You start freaking out. So we get to like the second inning, and I don't know what happened. It started to get slow a little bit, and baseball can be sing-songy. So I started talking about my wife and I just got a new dishwasher. So between pitches, I'm talking about the dishwasher that we just got. And I started thinking to myself, like, what the hell am I doing? I'm in my head. I'm like, well, I got to finish the story, but how did this start? So lo and behold, I get home, and I've got 10 text messages. People love this dishwasher story.
Absolutely. That's part of baseball.
Yeah. So I get home, I walk through the door. The girls come and greet me as they usually do with the open arms and dad, because they don't care. I mean, their world revolves around Disney and making sure that they're fed and zebra cakes right now. So I get go to get the kiss from my wife as the trifecta, and she's like, "So is there anything else you want to discuss openly on air about our purchases?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Oh, I heard it. You want to talk about the principal's office?" Then she never listens to my games. She always listens to other people's games because she wants to hear other people and how they do. She knows what I sound like. She's listened to enough. She listened to that game, and she only tuned in for the beginning of the dishwasher and then all the way through it. She's like, why? Why are you talking about our dishwasher purchase on a baseball game?
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
That's what you do in a Major League game.
That's what you do.
That's it.
At any baseball game.
If I had a nickel for every single time I've heard Tom Hamilton and Jim Rosenhaus talk about stuff that they've done off the field, or Greg Brown or Joe Block talking about the same thing, I'd be a friggin' millionaire.
Greg Brown's my guy. I love Greg Brown.
Great. He's phenomenal.
I would love to have 20 minutes with him to do some of the stuff that we do, like our video conferencing, and just pick his brain personally. I'd love to have him in here.
Well, we don't have baseball right now, so let's give him a call.
Let's get him. Let's get him in here.
I mean, it's not like he's that far away.
It's Pittsburgh. So
I got his number if you want it.
Let's give him a call. But my thing with her is, I told her, I said, and this is, I don't know if this is the salesman in me coming out or me just a little CYA, but I said, people, when they tune into our games, they're inviting us into their homes. They're inviting us into their cars. We had guys in the dugout tuning in, which was pretty cool. They were watching the game and then had the 30-second delay or so, and they were watching like what happened. So that, for some reason, it convinced her that it was cool. But we've been doing that since we from the jump. Like we talk about random stuff. This guy talks about twerking in the batter's box. We're at a high school game and he's like, oh, she's just got to twerk a couple things, and I was like, I looked over at him. I was like, tweak? In
my mind, I meant to say tweak.
Yeah. Okay.
Twerk. He's talking
Twerking
twerk.
a couple
And I'm
things.
thinking, well, this is the last game we'll be doing. This is it for us.
And there she is, twerking in the batter's box,
There it
getting
was.
ready to go.
And he said it so, like, stamped it, right? He said it, and he emphatically said it.
There you go.
And his mom and I kind of looked at each other, and we're like, twerk? I think we hit the wrong word. I think a couple lines down the dictionary is tweak.
Tweak.
And so he, like, after the inning, I said, Anthony, do you realize what you said? And he goes, yeah. I said she needed to tweak a few things in the batter. I said, you said twerk. And no, I didn't. And then his mom said, yes, you did.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Red face. As red as this wall, Mr. Hartwig went red face and couldn't believe he said it. So it happens so fast. People that have never broadcasted,
Yeah.
it happens so fast. And by the time we say something, a lot of, especially personally speaking, I'm on to like what I'm going to say next. Like it's almost in a delay in my head, which is never a good thing because you can run things over. But when you're calling a championship game or the last play of a game or a really exciting game, not only are you thinking of what you're going to say, but you're also setting yourself up for something later in that broadcast. And man alive, if the other night I wasn't so excited that I started talking about a dishwasher, and I was just like, all right, how the hell do I get out of this? Like, are we going to start talking about the stove and the microwave or what?
Okay, before we get out of here, you've now opened Pandora's box for two of the funniest baseball calls I've ever heard in my life, both of which my jaw dropped, and I was just like, how the hell are they going to get out of this one? Matt Underwood told the story in the baseball breakfast
First
at
pitch breakfast,
YSU with the Miss Cheesecake.
Yep.
St. Louis Cardinals broadcast. Jack Buck was on one side, Mike Shannon's on another side, and they're going back and forth. Miss Cheesecake, it was a beauty pageant. I don't know how they did this, but in Missouri they have beauty pageants all over the place. Miss Cheesecake was there. It was a dairy farmer's day at the ballpark. Miss Cheesecake is there, and she has the typical sash and the gown, the whole 9 yards, has the crown, and she's giving cheesecake to the broadcasters. Gives a slice of cheesecake to Joe Buck, gives a slice of cheesecake to Mike Shannon, and they're doing the game, and they're kind of in baseball. You can't really eat while you're broadcasting a game. Some people can, others can't.
Mr. Paul Munson.
Joe Buck is trying to pick at the cheesecake, but he's the play-by-play broadcaster, and Mike Shannon, who later took over play-by-play duties when Jack Buck passed, he's doing more of the color commentary. So Jack Buck is announcing the game, and Mike Shannon's doing his little kind of color commentary. And was it Mike Shannon obviously said it? Jack Buck asked him a question, and Mike Shannon said, Miss Cheesecake come down here, and, I sure would like a piece of that cheesecake. And everyone just, lost their mind. Jack Buck's looking over at him, and he had to tell the engineer to turn his microphone off because he was laughing that much. Because obviously Mike Shannon...
He didn't say cheesecake at the end.
Yeah.
And it's an audio broadcast, so he said, basically it was, well, Miss Cheesecake is here, and man, would I love a piece of that. And he pointed, apparently, at the cheesecake.
And he didn't say
He didn't say
cheesecake.
cheesecake.
Well, I'd love to have a piece of that. Well, radio, it doesn't work. Okay, so there you go. Which leads me into the creme de la creme, the best blooper performed by Harry Carey. Arnie Harris was the longtime producer of WGN Baseball. This was when Harry was the Cubs television broadcaster. Arnie Harris was famous for showing pictures of different people in Wrigley watching a Cubs game. So Harry Carey's broadcasting a game, and Arnie Harris gets this picture. Two kids probably on their first date. Maybe they're just in a relationship. They're not husband and wife. There's not a ring on this girl's finger, but clearly they're in a relationship. And he's got Harry Carey doing the game, and after a strike is called or whatever, Arnie goes back to these two. And every once in a while, this guy and girl are kissing, and every once in a while, when they're not showing them, they're not. And Harry's one of those guys that always thought he knew a pattern when he saw one. You can tell where this is going to go. So after a while, Harry's thinking, okay, I got the pattern. He goes, okay, pitch is low and away in the ball. And he looks at Steve Stone and he says, I think I know what Arnie Harris is doing here. Every time there's a strike, they don't kiss, but every time there's a pitch away, she's kissing him on the balls and the other strikes. And Steve Stone, you can hear him just howling. He is laughing his ass off. And Arnie Harris, you can see that just commotion all over the place. And they get through the inning, and Harry Carey is mysteriously replaced by someone after the inning was over for about an inning or so.
It did, towards the later stages of his career, it did, no pun intended, get a little hairy sometimes with him on the mic.
That was the funniest thing I ever saw. He's kissing her on the ball. He's kissing her with the strikes, and she's kissing him on the balls. I'm like, oh God.
My gosh.
You did not just go there,
That's
Harry.
ridiculous.
Yeah. And then the one one of my dear friends, we were on the road doing a game, so I was doing my own stuff, and Jason Compton, who was later the general manager, he's now in charge of the youth fields in Jackson. He said, well, you guys were doing the stuff. You should have heard the Cardinals game. I go, what was the big deal? He goes, Shannon was blasted on the air. I said, what do you mean blasted? He goes, he was at least a case of beer into the broadcast. I'm like, oh, God, what did he do? He goes, but the bottom of the fourth inning, he's inebriated. Everyone in the ballpark knows he's inebriated. He's drinking Budweiser left and right, and he goes, this game brought to you by Budweiser. Budweiser, the king of beers. Go and just crack yourself a good old Budweiser. And kids, crack a Budweiser of your own while you're getting one for your dad. Oh, that's it. Game over. He's done for the rest of the night.
Do you watch Brockmire?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah,
hit the first episode. You can't get better.
No.
The first 5 minutes of Brockmire that's it. It's... that's the nightmare for any broadcaster, to bring that kind of personal stuff into a ballgame. Look, you want to talk about the stuff that you do that's not personal. Have at it.
Compartmentalize.
But when you, and for those that never watched Brockmire, first episode, he finds out that his wife is cheating on him, and went into great detail of how he caught his wife cheating on him
play-by-play
while he's broadcasting a Royals game
without missing a beat.
He's throwing in his wife's infidelities play-by-play style as he's doing the play-by-play of a Royals game. One of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life, but obviously it's also a nightmare for any broadcaster.
One of my favorite shows. One of my favorite, and that's another guy that I think would be perfect to have on YSN.
Hank Azaria is phenomenal
because he's the voice of so many voices of The Simpsons.
Mo the bartender.
I mean,
amongst others,
he's probably in like 50. Because they use him so much, and the fact that The Simpsons 30+ years and still going is amazing to me. That they can have that much to write about over 30 years.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I'd love to have Hank Azaria on because this is last season for Brockmeyer.
It's already done.
Is it done?
Yeah, already done.
See, I'm playing catch up.
Yeah, it's already done. The way they ended it was a little different, but that's all right. I didn't watch much of the first season was just hilarious from start to finish. The second year when he left Morristown, I was like,
well, they went to every day. Like they had different levels every year. You know, they were never in this. I don't think they were in the same level any particular year.
Well, he was in rehab half of his second season.
Yeah, that was phenomenal.
Was phenomenal in and of its own self. But
but that's the thing is people. You know, we talk about Jeff, we talk about Brian, the three of us sitting at this table. Everybody thinks that you can just hop on and do a game.
No,
it's that easy, and it's not. And to just broadcast, to just do a show, there's so much prep that goes into it.
Yep. That all goes out the window when your team's down by 13 runs.
And that's it. And then you're looking at the notes, and then you're having conversations with yourself a lot of time. If you're ever interested in trying this, we're always open. But I would encourage you to try talking to yourself in the car on the way home. And if you could do that, you might be able to do this.
Yeah.
It's more difficult than people realize.
And if you have a tendency to impersonate people, you can have a lot of fun when your team is getting blown out.
Rick Daly does a fantastic job.
I did Walter Cronkite doing an inning of baseball in Jackson, Tennessee, and I had people next to me in tears.
Yep.
They're just looking at me going, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "My team's getting beat 15-2.
Yep.
Who the hell cares at this point?"
Nope.
You know, nobody cares. I mean, I'm not going to drop an F-bomb on the air, but Walter Cronkite is going to broadcast the game from here on out to Pringles Park in Jackson, Tennessee.
You give them something to remember.
They give him something to remember. The Braves had a closer in Double-A ball in Greenville. His last name was Sylvester. You know where I'm going to go with this?
Sylvester and Tweety Bird?
Yeah. So I'm going to Sylvester from the wind. Yeah, I mean, there you go. Slider low and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Well, now I got to clean the microphone from the Bethesda virus.
Suffering Flackatash.
There
that
it is
ball
again.
was low and away.
That's a little bit more Clorox. Fantastic show today. I thought you did outstanding. Thanks to Jimmy Powers for calling in, the boys for being here, Anthony, as always, for coming in. Power Hour tomorrow, and you got 18 with your pops.
I got 18 with my pops tomorrow in Stowe, Ohio.
Stowe.
Should be fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not too bad, was it?
Oh, they got a great course over there.
$1.15?
About an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, about an hour. Well, it depends on who's driving. If I'm driving, it's an hour. If my dad's driving, it's an all-day affair.
Now, you guys are taking a cart, right? You're not going to walk.
Oh, no, I'm not walking.
Okay. So you shouldn't be that hurt. You shouldn't be that banged up.
Well, I'm twisting my body left and right and all this other stuff. It's 18 holes.
We're going in stone. Friday, you're running. You're running. Bring your cleats. Bring whatever you need.
I don't have any cleats.
Just bring shoes so you don't fall on your face like Quinn.
My basketball shoes have enough tread on them, so we're good to go.
And you're guessing, did you have a projection? You said you
want
below
7.
Below 7. So 6'9".
6'9" is probably where I'm going to wind up being.
What's your guess?
I'll go with 7-1.
Damn, that's where I was going to go. So I guess I'll go 7-1-1.
The old Price is Right.
The old Price is Right.
8 1/4, and everyone's going to be like, God, you're slow. Yeah, like I said, get oxygen ready after 40 yards.
I don't know if
be ugly.
I don't know if we go live just to prove that we're not slowing it down, like doing the slow mo video.
Yeah.
If we just go live,
the $6 Million Man, where you're going do 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 do. Yeah,
Chariots of Fire going.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 bum.
Oh God.
No, that's not Steve Austin, ladies and gentlemen. That is Ron Potesta.
What's the show that the show that the guy that created Seinfeld? It's on HBO.
Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Yeah, play the end of Curb Your Enthusiasm as I'm running my 40-yard dash.
We have enough copyright infringements going on right now with our graduation. We don't need any more.
Pomp and Circumstance can be played.
No, it can't. Well, it's supposed to be able to be played, but according to YouTube, it is off limits, and it pisses me off because it is a non-copyrighted, and it was created in like the 1800s. So there should be no copyright on it. Nobody's making money off of it.
No.
And we've been copyright dinged every single time we've run it on our graduation, whether it's our production or not. So thanks a lot, YouTube.
Wow.
I'm looking at you, Google.
I'm looking at you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Zuckerberg.
I don't think he has anything to do with it.
Well, I'm just going to blame him anyway.
You can do what you want. It's your
There you
show.
go. All right, we're done. Have a great day, rest of the day. Enjoy your Tuesday. I know I am. I'm going to be golfing and sweating and hopefully a pretty decent golf outing. And we'll run a 40-yard dash on Friday. Probably will be dead Friday afternoon after the show or before the show, depending on when we're running this 40.
He'll have a towel draped around his neck.
I may have a very large ice bag on my hamstring. Yeah, this could get ugly. Oh, God. Why are you? And it's all because you're going to feed me Lorna Doones.
I'll give you Lorna Doones for it.
See, that's worth it.
See?
There you go. It's all about the food.
Everybody's got a vice.
Yeah, that's it. And my vice is Lorna Doones, and their best cookie other than chocolate chip. There it is. All right, have a great day with everyone. We'll talk Wednesday. See ya.